All right, guys. Today we're gonna be looking at 3 classes. I think that's all I'm gonna schedule for. We're gonna be doing the fighter, the paladin, the barbarian, and we're gonna see if how we feel about the changes. If they feel like improvements, if they feel worth it enough to change from what we're doing now. If I haven't already heard, I have not. I've been pretty ignorant, Mad Dog. So I'm excited to see what's coming. You know what? Actually, that's not true. I have seen one comment saying the Paladin's smite got messed with, so we'll see. A little nervous about it, but it's fine. It's gonna be okay. So yeah, today we're gonna be looking at what's up, Mike? Today we're gonna be looking at these 3 classes and seeing if they're improvement. Some of you guys were obviously there last time we did this on the last video, and I felt extraordinarily underwhelmed. I feel like I'm like the core demographic. Like, I love D&D a lot, enough to make a channel about it, and I wasn't excited. So I think part of that is that the way they presented this information could have been so much better. And again, like that first video, that like everything you need to know just didn't have anything for me to get me excited. So I'm excited to get you guys talked about how these fighter classes and these videos are going to be a little bit more concise and give us some of that more information. So yeah, we're going to try and go into this with less of a pessimistic view, more positivity, and see if we can just be like, what's the cool things to pull from this. All right, so we're going to start with the fighter. I feel like the fighter in 2014. I feel like the fighter in 2014 is something that is like good for new players to just get in and get their feet wet and not have to worry about knowing a lot of the rules. So we'll see if that kind of holds true. I think the fighter obviously needs the biggest well, I don't know if it's the biggest upgrade, but a upgrade to kind of get it closer to casters, though I'm not sure even if that's a problem. I think casters are just always going to be stronger. That kind of just makes sense to me that they would never be on the same plane, but hopefully they bridge the gap a little bit. So let's get into this. Hopefully this is more concise. Hopefully this is a little bit more straightforward and specific, and not just like a lot of corporate speak like the first one was. So let's get into this. Let's see what we got.
The fighter, in addition to being one of the most popular classes in 5th edition D&D, is also one of the oldest classes. This is the person who essentially you can put any weapon in their hand and they know how to use it, and they know how to use it well. And if you look at the new player's handbook, the fighter and I think the ranger, they are sort of neck and neck in just the number of brand new features that they get in this book.
Right.
All the baseline goodies are still there: extra attack and it increasing, action surge, etc. This is just how much that is brand new in the fighter.
Right.
That is being joined with the features that the class had before. First off, of course, weapon mastery, brand new. Also, fighters now get a feature called Tactical Mind, which allows them to expend uses of their second wind when they fail an ability check, to roll a die, add it to that check, and try to turn their failure into a success.
Okay.
Now, we were able to introduce this new feature because we also enhanced second wind so that fighters can now use it more often than they used to be able to.
Right.
And as fighters go up in level, their number of second wind uses increases, which means not only do they now have more uses to use on their self-healing, which is what second wind could do previously, but now they can also use it on Tactical Mind to try to turn, again, failed ability checks into successful ones.
Okay. Okay. I feel like I need to have the book with me because yes, I remember that second one's in it, but I don't remember like the details of all these things, and we kind of are just getting into it like immediately. He's just immediately telling you what's happening. But like they don't have any graphics to kind of show you. I feel like I'm a very visual learner, so seeing him just kind of like talk about these vague things without like me having the prerequisites already in my head right now is not ideal. So I feel like I'm gonna. You know what? 1 second. I'm grabbing the book. I'm grabbing the original book so I can look at the comparisons. All right. Rogue. Yeah, time to quit messing around. We're doing this the real way. All right. So we got Paladin fighter. Again, me just being upset at presentation. Like, they could have made a quick, like, 7-minute video that showed with a lot of graphics, like, the drastic changes that got people excited. And instead, it's a very slow, like, unrehearsed delivery of information. So, all right. Fighters. Indomitable. Action Surge, right? Of course, a classic. Second Wind. You have a limited amount of stamina that you can draw on to protect yourself from harm. Yeah, on your turn, you can use a bonus action to regain hit points equal to 1d10 plus your fighter. Once you use the feature, you must finish a short or long rest before you can use it again. Okay, so now he's just saying you can use Second Wind for other kind of variable things. Okay.
And that's very much on theme with fighters. Like, they persevere. Okay. And it may not just be to, like, heal up and get into the fight again. It may be to, like, you're trying to grasp for something, or you're trying to do this one thing with the last bit of strength in you.
Absolutely. And also, Tactical Mind is part of our effort to give the fighter also some special capability in situations that might not be combat. Most of the fighter's abilities are naturally combat oriented. It's in the name. Yeah. They're all about fighting. But nonetheless, we, in every class, as we revisited it for the new player's handbook, made sure that every class had something that they could bring to the table also outside combat. And so Tactical Mind is a big option there. Again, at level 2. At level 5, they get Tactical Shift. Okay. Now, this allows them, whenever they use their Second Wind as a bonus action to regain hit points, to also move up to half their speed without provoking opportunity attacks. We wanted fighters, as the battlefield tacticians, to have a bit of an easier time moving around the battlefield, especially when they're in danger. And so that's why this is connected to Second Wind, that, you know, those times where the fighter is like, uh-oh, we want the fighter to be able to tactically reposition themselves, whether they need to do that to save themselves or move themselves into a better position to protect their allies, because some fighters are built as tanks, but then other fighters are built as archers, as skirmishers. Part of the beauty of the class is that you can build a fighter to fill many different tactical roles. Level 9, they get Tactical Master. You can see a theme here, since each of these new features has the word tactical in it. We have, you know, Tactical Mind, Tactical Shift, and now Tactical Master. Tactical Master at level 9 lets the fighter, whenever they are using a weapon and are using that weapon's mastery property, lets them replace that property when they strike with the weapon with the push, sap, or slow mastery properties.
Okay, that's good. I like that. From what I heard of, like, the weapon mastery swapping out, I feel like what would make a fighter fun is to be able to use the right feature or mastery at the right time. So I'm excited about that. That makes me actually want to play the fighter and be like a tactician.
Which basically means the fighter always, once they reach level 9, always has those 3 mastery properties.
That's all the way at level 9? Dude, do you know how many characters I get to level 9? like, oh, I mean, this is a me problem. I know this is not a universal D&D problem, but okay. That's pretty deep in there. All right. Don't love that part.
In their pocket.
Yeah.
And so whatever mastery property is on the weapon they're using, they always know, okay, if in a pinch I need one of those other 3 mastery properties, I can invoke it. And this is a replacement of a feature we experiment.
Mad Dog, yeah, that makes sense. So the proning enemies the entire time seems bad. Especially like, okay, so let's take the reverse, right? As the DM, you have your enemies. I want my enemies to fight smartly and equally as strong as the enemies or the PCs. So yeah, you want to use like, what's the thing? Topple. I would use topple all the time. So then people are just going to be laying down all the time. That feels not fun or creative. Yeah, I do. I like weapon mastery universally. I'm not sure all of them are going to be hits. Toppling all the time is got to be annoying. Because don't you have to do like a saving throw to not get toppled? And so it's just things that kind of bog down the game. I don't know. Well, let's see what more he has to say before I just get on a rant.
In Unearthed Arcana, that was allowing fighters to completely switch which mastery properties were on their weapons. We found that not only was that not super popular in the UA series, but it was also on the back end in our development creating a number of headaches for the system down the line. So that is no longer present. Instead, we felt both in our development and in our playtesting, it was far more preferable and fun to just give the fighter these 3 properties that the fighter could just say, nope, I'm going to use this one now, regardless of what the mastery property is on the weapon that I'm using.
I, again, being obsessed with the Battlemaster, all of those weapon mastery abilities for those weapons
that makes sense, Mad Dog.
Can stack and layer on to your battle maneuvers all at the same time.
Yes.
So there are some really juicy combinations. If you're a Battlemaster, you're using a maneuver, you can use an additional effect from that weapon, and now you have this massive toolbox of combinations.
This does actually make it feel like dual wielding is worth it for instead of just like an extra D4 of damage. Like being able to have different weapons that have different kind of like masteries. That seems fun. So it actually feels useful to have like, you know, a dagger for. I think that there's Nick on the dagger, and then you know something with. I hope they show, and I don't think they will, but I wish they showed a list of the masteries that they're adding. Like, give me a visual representation so I can see what everything does.
That you've never had before.
Exactly. So the Battle Master's mini game of deciding which maneuver to use at any point just became an even more intricate mini game because you're figuring out which maneuver to use paired with which weapon mastery.
If you want to like stack, you know, pushing an opponent a little bit with one of your maneuvers, and then also stacking the weapon mastery to push an opponent even further.
I'll have to look at that.
And get up to some really nasty business.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
At level 13, the fighter gets a feature that I've actually been wanting to give fighters for years called studied attacks.
What did you say, level 15?
And this gives the fighters for years called studied attacks. The fighter gets a feature that I've actually been wanting to give fighters for years called studied attacks.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
And this gives the fighter advantage on their next attack roll against a target if they miss them. With this idea, again, of fighters being the battlefield
level
masters,
13, thank you.
Like they're sizing up their
level
opponent.
13, I think, is right on the end.
Imagine it with the fighter more than anyone
of when
else.
I'll ever,
well, I missed you this
like
time.
everything beyond this is going to be irrelevant
I just
to me
figured out
personally.
something about you, and so I'm going to have a better chance of hitting you next time.
Right.
And you can see this sort of starting to snowball and can be a lot of fun.
It's possible the system has a different level scaling. That is true, but I don't really use their level scaling in the first place. And again, so like, I don't know, do you guys use more the experience-based leveling up or milestones? Because we're pretty significantly milestone-based leveling up. Any, you know, beats in the story, that's when people get their next level up. We're not actually calculating like how many enemies died in that kind of way. Milestone always, yeah. That makes sense. So yeah, I mean, maybe I just have to push it further. I don't know. Part of it is I just like the lower levels because the game is easier to balance and it feels more real, and death feels a little bit more legitimate. But again, these are personal preferences. It's not a reflection on the whole system. But for me, I like that slow progression so that each level feels heavy. And then once it gets to 20, there's just so many things to remember. And, you know, I play with people who, you know, we still don't have the core rules down because that's not what's important to us in the game. The storytelling is the more important part. So, like, adding more spells that they have to try to remember is, like, such a pain, right? Milestone, XP, depends on the DM. Yeah, that's fair. Matt, I just started DMing for this time, and I'm using Curses of Strahd, so Milestone, yep, exactly. Yeah. Something about XP, I consider using XP, but it punishes RP and Exploration. Yeah, there's something about that feels weird to me. Like, when you beat the big boss, that's probably when you should be like, we got way stronger. You've emotionally and like on a story arc level have evolved. Your characters have grown and changed. Being like, all right, well, we killed 3 more. If we kill 3 more spiders, then we're gonna finally make it. That feels weird. Milestone stops things from getting awkward and discourages murder hobo tendencies. Yeah, great. Yeah, discouraging murder hobo tendencies is always good because they're always gonna be there. You can't get rid of them. You just can't get rid of them. They're in every game. Even the nicest players, all of a sudden they're like, fuck it, we're gonna go wild. All right, let's see. Do they get into subclasses on this also? Let's see. Battle Master Champion. Okay, cool. So they get into the subclasses. I'm more interested in that because anything beyond this is just going to be irrelevant to me, but interesting to hear.
Fighters then at level 19 also get a new feature.
Oh, Mad Dog, that makes sense.
All classes now get at level 19 that replaces the ability score improvement that they had at that level, and it is...
Red 13 Aaron. I hope I'm not missing the name, but I'm gonna call you Red. If you got to make XP values for those other social explorations. To me, that feels like just more work that I have to do, like on the back end instead of waiting, like making sure I have a balanced system. Because yeah, right now I don't think D&D has anything that really adds to those like social interactions. And how do you balance a social interaction? I don't know. That seems difficult, but I get why you would do that. That would make sense because then you give it to everything, so it's not just combat centric. That's a good point.
The Epic Boon feature, and this is the feature that unlocks for fighters as well as every other class who gets this feature, the ability to choose an Epic Boon feat. Now, the fighter, like everyone else, also has the option of choosing a non-Epic Boon feat at this level. It's just like when you choose. Or rather, when you're given ability score improvement, you have the option of taking that or another feat. Same here with Epic Boon. But I think you're going to want to choose the Epic Boon feat because the Epic Boon feats, they not only include an ability score increase in them, but that increase can go past the normal maximum of 20.
Yeah.
And they include abilities that really go beyond what feats can normally do. And there's a reason why these feats are not available until 19th level. Like one of them, just as an example, and it's particularly relevant to the fighter's interests, is one of the Epic Boon feats is called the Boon of Combat Prowess, which allows you, when you miss, to just decide you hit. And you can do this. You can do this only once per turn, but my goodness, is that good?
Yeah.
And the Epic Boon feats, there's another one where you now have True Sight, meaning within a certain range, you can see anyone who's invisible.
What their actual form truly is.
You can see through illusions.
See, stuff like that feels so good in video games, but I would forget that every single time. Set up a whole encounter for my players that is based around this enemy that's invisible, and someone's like, I can just see him all the time. Like we talked about with Dark Vision, same thing. I'm gonna be like, fuck. So that's why I just don't go up to level 20. But I'm sure for other people who are making characters up to level 20, that feels awesome. That feels like really cool. Nader Tot, what's up, man? Good to have you back. PF2 has a very robust XP system. It's one of the only game systems I use where I actually prefer XP over milestone. And they even have a good rules that make sense for awarding XP for social encounters. Wow, okay. Yeah, I definitely need to check that out because I haven't looked very much into Pathfinder 2. We played the first one, many years back, like when 4E was out. We played Pathfinder, but yeah, I haven't looked at the second one. I've heard just great things, so I'll have to look into that.
Really powerful. We have another epic boon where when you take the attack action or the magic action, hey, you can also teleport. So you can see how these epic boons,
that's cool,
once you reach level 19, can really supercharge how your character functions as they near the end of a normal D&D character's career. Now, I put it that way because we also include rules in the new player's handbook that if your DM wants you to keep playing at level 20, you can go beyond the power that characters normally have once they sort of reach the ceiling or reach the level cap. Because now, every time you hit a certain amount of XP, you can pick another one of these epic boon feats, or another feat if you so choose. Meaning, if you play at level 20 long enough, you could conceivably get one of your scores all the way up to 30. Meaning that at that point, you are truly God tier.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I mean, what percentage of players is doing that? I mean, there's got to be some. That's making like 1% of the player base very happy. Legitimately, what's the highest level you guys have played? Not just for a one shot, but like as a consistent campaign. What is the highest level your characters have gone to? Because I would love to know. Because I'm literally thinking, I don't know if I even have one. Do we even have one over level 10? Like, I don't think so. I think we always stop and start a new guy, and I think 10's my max. I mentioned the other system. It's important to remember that dark vision can only really make out shapes in darkness. That is true. Perception, no colors as well. Yeah, okay. Mad Dog, that is true. I probably have been playing those rules wrong, but slowly we've just been taking dark vision out of the game entirely. You know? Level 14 to 16 for me. 8, yep, okay. 15th after a 3-year campaign split between 2 campaigns. Oh, that's cool. Princess of the Apocalypse in a homebrew. That's awesome. Rise of the Tiamat ends at 15, I think. Has Critical Role even hit 20 in any other campaigns? I don't know. I've never gotten to the end. I think I've watched so much Critical Role, and then I realized I'm only on like episode 19. You know? I was like, I've watched so much. I'm really in there. I'm like, oh, wow. I really haven't even scratched a bit of the first season. Level 13, 5 for me, 14 for me, like 5, yeah. And I'm in 2 campaigns now. Both are predicted to get to 20. Well, that's great. Okay, so Kibarox, I appreciate. I'm glad to know that there are people out there. Are you excited about this, like level 20 increases? Because that's nice. That's gotta. If you're actually the player that's getting there, this is for you. For me, who's only getting to level 10, it's not. I wish only underground, ocean, and cave races had dark vision. Elves can just cast light and use torches like everyone else. Yeah, very true. Okay, sick. Well, that's great. I'm glad you're excited for this. And this is the other thing. I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. These are a lot of my feelings of like, I don't know if that works for me. I don't like that. Is because it's my group it's not relevant to us. And of course, there's no 2 D&D games that are alike. I think everybody's playing differently. But yeah, okay. For a lot of us, we're not going past. It seems like 15 is a common stopping point for a lot of people. Which, holy shit, guys, you guys are really going for it. We always are like, time to start new. It's time to start fresh.
That's awesome.
And again, that epic boon goodness is something that every character
Mad Dog,
is
exactly.
going to have
At that
access
point,
to.
if you're playing that long, you're homebrewing so much.
Now with the fighter,
especially at level 20.
I'm going to loop all the way back to the beginning before we dive into subclasses to touch also on some enhancements in existing features. I already mentioned that Second Wind now has more uses than it used to have.
Right.
Okay.
But also the baseline fighting style feature that fighters get has been enhanced. And it's been enhanced in several ways. First off, there are new fighting style options that weren't present in 2014. There's now blind fighting, interception, thrown weapon fighting, and unarmed fighting. Each of these made their debut in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
Oh.
And they've now graduated into the player's handbook, and they have been adjusted to now be fully at home with all of the other options in this book.
Right. So it's the which I heard someone in the comments for the last video that we did, the last stream. Yeah, they talked about how like this is a combination of Tasha's. They're just like bringing a lot of the stuff, updating little tweaks, and really just trying to get people excited that there's something new. But yeah, this is all existing stuff or homebrewed stuff that is just getting used again. Which again, it makes me not as amped. I was hoping for. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I don't even know what I'm hoping for. Like, there's just so many other good options. Like if I wanted to change systems right now, I think I would go to a completely new system, just for the shift, just to try something new. Again, and then that's me being pessimistic. So okay, all right, we're recalibrating. We're going back to being positive. We got to look at this with open mind and see if it's okay. But I don't like that they're just taking stuff from Tasha's and being like, and now it's new, because it doesn't feel like they're. I mean, I guess they're being open about it now, but it doesn't feel like. Well, you know what? I'm going to stop myself there because they are advertising it as kind of like just an update to the 5. So I don't know, man. I'm pretty trapped in my own like cycle of being upset and being fine with it. It seems like it really only bits very, very niche. Oh, sorry. I read that. Pay full price for an errata change. Exactly. Same. I'd probably pick up Pathfinder if I was changing. Yeah. I mean, and I want to try a lot of like the third party stuff. Like I want to try a lot of like DC 20 looks awesome. I don't know if you guys have looked at the DC 20. It seems like a lot of fun from the Dungeon Coach. And yeah, like it's just something that would be such a change and like has drastic updates that seem like they are the actual step above of what we're doing. Or going Shadow Dark because I like more rules light or like hard to play. Kevin Murphy, it's basically one for new people. They won't have to buy as many books. That part is true. That's very reasonable. Tales of Valiant looked interesting. Exactly. DC 20 does show a lot of promise. Yeah. It's more so 5.5e than 6e. Absolutely. There's no way to call this 6e. This is 5.5. Like history's repeating itself, right? Like we're doing what we did with 3. The one universal good thing about 5.5e is that if you never bought any D&D content, you just get an enhanced 5th edition. But us who have all the stuff already in it, it's really worth. It's not really worth $100. Yeah, okay, that's exactly right. And this is where it gets complicated because then it comes into like the social element of this of you're new, your friends play 5e, you're excited about you buy the books, you get the 5.5e, and then your friends are like, oh yeah, we just play 5e, and you're like, fuck, I just bought those books. And I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure people will just adapt, and people who are new will tell them what to do and what to get into it. But I'm curious to see how many people actually of the community of 5e swap over to 5.5e. It can't. I mean, it's not going to be an overwhelming percentage. I don't think like 90% of people are swapping over. I think a lot of people are just going to hang out and keep on doing what they're doing. What happened with 3? But didn't people hate 3, and that's why people updated it? People don't hate 5. You're right. I think absolutely. I will call my ignorance on the transition from 3 to 3.5 because that's right when I got in. The first game I played was 3.5, and then immediately we played Pathfinder. So I was a youngin' in high school who didn't really understand the ecosystem of it. So I will pull myself back from making a wrong statement about that. I've been trying to get our DM to try new systems. 5.5e is the closest thing I get to something new. And right, if you want something new, this is maybe a fresh enough take to get you to do something else. Like if you made so many characters, then that you're like, I just need something new, this will give it to you. I think most people will do is just nab the free PDF and include the stuff they like. And yeah, you're right. They'll just do the same homebrew option that they're doing now, right? Like just take the things they like, be like, yeah, you want to use that fighter, go ahead, use that fighter. All right. All right,
also
let's see what they got.
improved the protection option that was present before. And you can also, and this is a biggie, you can also now change the fighting style that you chose every time you gain a fighter level. It used to be that you would choose it and
that was it.
That was it for the rest of your career. We've now given the fighter the ability every time they level up to change their mind. They might decide, I've been more of an archer than a frontline warrior, and so I want to change what fighting style feat I'm using.
And that's something I also enjoy about.
It feels like a nothing
Weapon
change
Master
to
as
me.
well, is that you mentioned
Like, it's
several times
nice,
that
but
you can go through
is it worth
training
mentioning?
and adjust.
Yes.
Yeah, you can train up on a different weapon, a different
And that is a key piece of the fighter's weapon mastery feature. And the other weapon mastery features is exactly that. Yeah, that you pick the weapons that you unlock, but then you can change them.
Yeah.
And this is all about us giving players more ways to explore different parts of the game and not feel that they make a choice and they're stuck with it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Now, there are certain choices that, yeah, they're for the character's life, unless something extraordinarily magical alters something. Like, for instance, most characters' species will never change, although, you know, they might be reincarnated, and that could certainly change their species. Similarly, most characters never change their class, although they might delve into another class via multi-classing. But within some of these big choices that usually remain true throughout a character's career, we've looked for ways to give people more avenues to explore different options in the game.
This is good.
In a way, the fighter, to me, finally is truly the sort of weapon master equivalent of the wizard in terms of flexibility.
Absolutely, yeah.
I do like that they're allowing changes throughout, because I mean, I think it avoids people going like, all right, I'm sick of just playing this one style. Time to kill my character off and get a new character. And this way they get to kind of just adjust, you know, as they see fit. Like, yeah, someone who, like you Mad Dog, you said the DM gave a new magic bow and I'm no longer a sword fighter. Like, yeah, and he's right. It does make the fighter feel more versatile in that he can change and adjust. So I think that's great. I think that's probably a huge improvement. Nadertot said, have you tried out Daggerheart? I have not tried out Daggerheart yet, but it's something, again, that I would love to try out. There's so many other systems that I need to try first. So, yeah, 5.5e is, I think, the one that will be, I'll just steal from instead of actually use. The more I'm seeing, instead of actually like making a hard conversion to it. Terrence, 5e was their most popular edition, so they probably don't want to make any drastic changes. Right. Probably safer to poach common homebrew fixes and quality of life improvements and call it 5.5e. Yeah, it's very safe. It's just, as viewers or as players, it doesn't add anything for me. I'll just speak from my perspective. It doesn't add anything. Like, it's safe for them, and it's a way for them to make money, but the rules are already out. They already exist. Like, I can already just play the game for free. And so, again, you're right. The consensus has to be just steal the things you like, keep the rest. And this is just a business move for them to make money. And for new players coming in, this is a great way for them to have a reason to jump on the train. One shot's to where it's at. My group likes to take a break from our main game every now and then and try out a different system. Yeah, and that's also a great thing. And to even add on trying out new systems, we like trying out, more than anything, non-medieval systems. Like, we like doing more of, like, the Monster of the Week is a really good system. Or we like trying out Call of Cthulhu, or what's the Cyberpunk Red, I think is what it's called. There's a couple Cyberpunk ones. We also like trying those different genres as well, so we can just get like a new feel entirely.
The wizard, who is not actually our biggest damage dealer when it comes to spells, but the wizard has the most versatility when it comes to spells.
Yeah.
And fighters now have that kind of versatility with weapon use, with tactical options. But we've also made it so that you get to determine how deeply you go into the amount of choice, because that's a big part of your subclass decision. And the 4 subclasses that are in the fighter represent not only 4 different thematic directions that a fighter can go in, but they also represent different levels of complexity, and in some ways, different levels of sort of mechanical idiosyncrasy. And this is something that we will return to when we talk about the other classes, because when we look at the classes, rather the subclasses that each class gets, and when we were choosing the 4 subclasses for every class in the new player's handbook, we were always looking for different levels of complexity, and then also different levels of idiosyncrasy, because we wanted to make sure that each subclass represented a different play style, a different theme, and a different level of complexity.
Let's delve into the subclasses. Fighter Battlemaster is one of my absolute favorites. They have a complexity to them that makes you feel like kind of a wizard.
And that is an identity that we have protected in the revised Battlemaster.
Okay, Battlemaster. Yeah.
There was actually an early version of the revised fighter where
True death.
I know actually there are many 5e fans who expected us to do this.
Right.
We considered taking the Battlemaster and turning its maneuver system into the baseline for the whole class.
Right.
And we actually spent quite a bit of time several years ago assuming that was the direction we were going in with the fighter. We, as you can see, backed away from that.
Yeah.
And the main reason we did so is we realized that would undermine our goal of providing different levels of complexity for people and different play styles within the fighter. Because even though there are a segment of fans, you included, who love the Battlemaster, there are also many fighter players who have no interest in playing the Battlemaster or having this whole array of maneuvers to manage. In many ways, I'm glad for the Battlemaster's sake that we did not absorb it into the base class, because it allowed us to protect the Battlemaster as the Battlemaster. So a big part of bringing the Battlemaster into...
Yeah, because then it gets super subject to change, and then it's not a big enough... They have to keep it safe so that they don't change it too much so people don't get upset. Buster Klondike, not sure how I feel about subclasses being difficulty settings. Yeah, I don't know how that feels. There's some part of me that makes sense. Like, I do like having the easy mode, brand new player. You want to play this, and play this subclass, and it's straightforward. You don't have to think about anything. You're ready to go. All we have to work on is making sure you know when to attack and how many attacks you get and how to do damage dice. But in general, like, simplifying it down seems bizarre for every subclass. Received on par. It's just some have more complications or choices. Okay. Yeah, that seems fine. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I'm okay with it. Well, hopefully they talk about it in more depth.
To the new PH was making sure that the maneuvers were all functioning as well as they could. Not only in the context of the fighter and the Battlemaster, but also in the context of other revisions we've done in the game.
Barbarian is very easy.
But then we also added in new maneuvers. So if people thought there were a lot before, well, there are even more.
Yeah.
Because now you have ambush, bait and switch, commanding presence, and tactical assessment. These maneuver options debuted in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and we have brought them over now to the player's handbook.
Yep, another
to
Tasha.
Join the other options within the Battlemaster.
And again, I always liked
Another Tasha
commanding
steal.
presence because this, again, fleshed out, even though you are primarily, but maybe you could be a ranged or melee character, you have additional social options.
Exactly.
And that makes sense for that character. Like, it fleshes out the character experience that you're having.
That non-combat angle is also a part of some other tweaks we made inside the Battle Master. So in the Student of War feature, it used to be you got just a tool proficiency. Well, we now also allow you to get another skill proficiency from the fighter's skill list, because we wanted the Battle Master to feel more well-rounded. And because we imagine the Battle Master as this sort of chess-playing tactical master who, yes, it's in the name, they are a master of battle, but also cunning and clever. And so that's why we added in that additional skill proficiency. We also completely redesigned the Battle Master.
Do you guys use tool proficiencies? I'm going to be honest. I don't think I ever use tool proficiencies. Like, I'm trying to think when it's ever come up. And I know that's probably bad DMing, but I don't even pay attention to it, like, at all. Because, I just, like, if someone wants to do something, I'm just like, yeah, go for it. You can do this, and we'll just make it a difficulty check. As a player, I would do it constantly. Yeah, okay. I don't know, Artificer in a homebrew setting. Oh, okay. Occasionally, yeah. Well, I try to make potions. I use tool proficiencies rarely, but I've had players who like to use them for role-playing purposes. Yeah, and I guess that's what they are. They're role-playing purposes. So if you can convince me that your person has been a master craftsman in their backstory, then great. Then that DC is going to be a little bit easier. Tools almost never come up in my games as player and DM. Yeah, they seem pretty niche. Okay, good. We're mostly on the same page, but I get why people use them. It seems like it shouldn't be a core part of the game.
Master's Know Your Enemy feature.
Okay.
We wanted it to have clearer use in battle, and so now, when you use it, and you have a limited number of uses per day, but when you use it, you are able to discern a creature's immunities, resistances, and vulnerabilities, essentially.
Okay,
in the
cool.
name, you know your enemy. You size them up, and you're able to figure out...
I like that.
The types of damage that's going to do nothing to them, but then also you're going to discern their weaknesses.
Perfect.
So the champion has still the same core identity as before, having a greater chance of scoring critical hits than pretty much anyone else in the game. But we really wanted to bring a bit more oomph to the subclass, so that it would not only continue to be fun for the people who love its more streamlined play style, but also so that it might appeal to even those of us who often like a bunch of tactical options, which is one of the reasons why in our playtests I spent so much time myself playing a champion, because I wanted the champion to be at a place where I myself can say, I had a great time playing it.
Right.
And I can say that wholeheartedly, that I had some of my most fun in the last year and a half in our playtesting playing a champion fighter. So weapon mastery with the champion is really like wonderful spice added to a tight, streamlined base. Again, we still wanted to make sure that the champion retained its streamlined nature while getting a little more spice of its own, not relying entirely on weapon mastery to bring that spice, but to get some of its own. And so with that in mind, we redesigned the Remarkable Athlete feature, and it now does a couple of things. First, combining with the champion's greater chance of scoring critical hits, Remarkable Athlete has made it so that whenever the champion scores a critical hit, the champion can move a certain distance without provoking opportunity attacks. So this allows the champion perhaps to score a crit and fell a target, and then without having to use any of their regular move, start making their way toward their next target.
Right.
Or move to another tactically advantageous position on the battlefield. We've also made it so that Remarkable Athlete gives the champion advantage on strength athletics checks.
It is a nice addition.
But even better on initiative rolls. Because we view the champion as being this person who is relentlessly pursuing victory, and they are ready to fight. And there are only a few characters in the player's handbook who have this, once they reach a certain level, an always-on advantage on initiative. And the champion is one,
Greed
the
Buster.
assassin is another, and the rogue, and then the barbarian class all up eventually gets it. This ability is not only fantastic on its own, because it simply means you have a better chance of acting first, or at least sooner, in any battle that you're participating in, but it has an especially nice interaction with how surprise now works. Because the surprise rules in the new player's handbook have been changed.
Okay.
Rather than there being a potential for certain combatants to simply be unable to act during the first round of a fight, a possibility that frankly ended up really unbalancing the game in certain circumstances, because the old surprise rules could very easily trivialize an entire encounter, and often way more so than they were intended to.
Yeah.
It was really supposed to be sort of a narrative thing of, oh look, you got the jump on somebody, but causing another side to essentially spend the entire first round of a combat gawking would often mean, in some cases, why are we even having the fight? Like, the DM can just say, you won. And so we want
now when
there
everybody
still to be the
just terribly
the
rolls, which is
possibility of
always what
feeling
happens.
like you have an edge, but we needed to defang how powerful surprise was. And so in the new rules, being surprised simply means you have disadvantage on your initiative roll. Meaning you're likely to go after the people who surprised you, although it's not guaranteed.
Do we like this change? I don't. The idea of all you get is, like, I do like being able to set up like surprise attacks. I think maybe people are too liberal with their surprise rounds, but like an ambush that's what it is. You get shot with a bunch of arrows, and the people jump out at you. You're like, oh shit, So like, just having disadvantage kind of feels weird. I don't think I thought surprise rounds were too impactful, Terrence. If I thought I was just going to destroy something, I would adjust and make little changes. I mean, I guess this is fine. It's not for me. I feel like that's just up to the DM. If a surprise trivializes the combat when the DM shouldn't have let it happen, and it should be rewarding that the party did a good ambush. I don't know. Right. I don't mind this change. Nader is fair. Middle ground. Yeah, I don't know. This one I probably would not make it in my game. I like the story element of it just being like surprise. Where if you, yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna keep this one out. Yeah, that makes sense, Kale.
The reason why I'm bringing this up in relation to the champion is it means because the champion always has advantage on their initiative rolls, even if they're surprised, they still don't have disadvantage. It just means their advantage is canceled by the disadvantage.
Kevin, that makes sense.
Meaning the champion, the assassin, and the barbarian are really hard to surprise, which is exactly what we want. We want these characters.
I mean, yeah, but it's just being hard to surprise doesn't matter as much if it's just disadvantage. Mad Dog, you said I'd say a better idea is just disadvantage on attacks getting caught lacking, so to speak. That's what I thought they were originally going to say, like disadvantage for the round, and that seems like a better middle ground than just when you fall in the order. I think that would be way better. Like, you're fumbling, you aren't prepared mentally, so you get disadvantage on all of your rolls in the first round. Maybe that would be a better split.
To
Always be ready.
They are ready.
Yeah.
They are ready to fight.
Yeah.
Or in the case of the assassin, they're ready to get you.
Yeah. They don't want this. They don't want to fight. They just want. They want to end the fight.
Yeah, the assassin wants the fight to end before it even starts.
It's already over. Yeah.
So there are some other enhancements in the champion. The additional fighting style
Terrence, that's
feature
true.
that used to be at level 10 has moved down to level 7. And then at level 10, there's now a brand new feature. It's called Heroic Warrior. And every time the champion starts their turn in combat and doesn't have heroic inspiration, they get it automatically.
Oh, wow.
And remember, the new heroic inspiration lets you re-roll any die roll. So the champion could use this to re-roll their d20 roll in the hope of fishing for crits, but they could also use it to re-roll a damage die or some other die that they're using on their turn. What this means is that a champion, every turn in combat, has a re-roll in their pocket, which, again, simple,
Yeah.
but potentially very effective. Finally, their level 18 feature, Survivor, now, in addition to its other functions that it had
I'll never get to this.
also gives the champion advantage on death saving throws, and they essentially gain their expanded crit range that they have on attack rolls also on death saves. And here's what I mean by that.
That seems so underwhelming. You're all the way at level 18 and now your death saves are just a little bit better. I mean, maybe that's important to people. If I saw that, I'd be like, who cares? I'll forget about it.
Now, when they're making death saving throws, if they roll an 18, 19, or 20 when they have this survivor feature, they gain the benefit of having rolled a 20. They basically, they can roll a critical death saving throw.
If I am at 18 or 20, I want a talent that makes it so I don't go down in the first place. Not like, well, I already fucked up, so now I'm pretty good at when I'm fucked up that I probably won't die immediately.
With a bigger range, since that's also their theme with their attack rolls. Meaning it is really hard to keep a champion down.
And what does a critical death saving throw do?
So when you roll a 20 on a death saving throw, you gain a hit point,
True.
which means you stop dying.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing that can happen to you.
What did you just say? I just
what
zoned
is
out.
Rolls, meaning it is really hard to keep a champion down.
And what does a critical death saving throw do?
So when you roll a 20 on a death saving throw, you gain a hit point, which means you stop dying.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing that can happen to you, because that erases all of the death saving throw failures you might have accrued up to that point. And then
Is that not always how death savings throws work? Have I been doing that wrong this entire time? I feel like 20s are just like you get 2 saves in your death saving throw. Has it always brought you back up to 1 hit point? Because that's crazy. I feel like that. I maybe I'm wrong here. Very weak level 18 ability. What a sad ability. Yeah. Yeah, 20 is regen a hit point. Wow, I've been doing this wrong for so long. I'm keeping it homebrew. It was intentional. I knew what I was doing. You're staying down. That's crazy. I didn't know that. Fuck. Ay. All right, well. Listen, they're all getting put together. It's a feature, not a bug. Yeah. Here's the other problem with watching these like very technical videos. I'm very much a rules on the fly guy. I'm sure a lot of you guys are too, where I've read through these books, but it's been a long time and I've read a lot of these books. So it all kind of melds together. So it's more what I think feels best in the moment. So yeah, you're right. No mistake. We're just owning it because that's what's going to happen at the table. We're just vibing. Everybody's I'm making sure it feels reasonable. But that feels so bad to be like you're down and then for no reason you're like able to stand back up and then swing as hard as you possibly can. You know, like I'm sure you guys also do stuff where there's like what am I trying to say? Like I'm sure for our homebrew when you go down, if you are down you come back up, you get a what's the not tired exhaustion point? That's the word I'm looking for. Jeez. Exhaustion point, right? So like when you come back up, you're at least getting like minuses to your rolls. Yeah, because the yo-yoing is crazy. I guess maybe that's what the game is built around, but I don't like it thematically or and story wise. It's not for me.
And you have the potential to get back into the fight.
Lots of people want to play a fighter. A lot of people want to play a wizard, but there's always been something like I want a little bit of magic.
Yeah, exhaustion is great.
Me having a sword, having a longbow, just a little touch of magic, and that's what the Eldritch Knight gives you.
Yeah, and the Eldritch Knight is tapping into that exactly. It's meant.
How do y'all feel about the homogenization of the specific levels different classes get their subclass abilities? Of specific levels, different classes get their subclass abilities? Why am I not understanding this? Different classes get their subclass abilities. Buster, I'm too dumb to understand what you're saying. Could you put it for like a 3-year-old? Oh, all the subclasses now are at. Yeah. Simplify it for me for my dumb brain, my very smooth ball bearing that's just spinning around in my head. Get sucked abilities at same level now. I mean, like every. Oh, it gets subclass abilities at the same level now. Do they? I didn't. Subclass, not sucked. Okay, I was like, yeah. Every class gets their subclass abilities at the same level now. I don't. That doesn't bother me too much, but I'm usually not like someone who's diehard about the leveling. Was it drastically different? Got their subclass at level 1. I wish everybody got their subclass at level 1 as well. Who knows? It's whatever's the easiest to get people in the game. I think is probably the most important thing. So maybe it's fine. This at 3, but we've all been through this. I think we talked about this last time. Level 1 and 2 don't exist unless you're playing with a new group. Except actually, that's where I play most of my campaigns because that's where it's a lot of fun. I think I probably just want a rules light, low magic game. Maybe that's something I need to look into too.
To be not only there for the person who wants the fighter mage, but maybe even for somebody who played original D&D where elf was a class option that mixed spellcasting and martial ability, and that is exactly what the Eldritch Knight is. The Eldritch Knight retains, its core abilities from 2014, the spellcasting combined with the abilities of the fighter, and the Eldritch Knight in the quartet of classes, rather subclasses, in the fighter, is the first of 2, the other one being the Psi Warrior, that are for people who want the fighter mixed with something else.
Yeah.
So the champion and the battle master, they represent sort of core fighter, but at different ends of the complexity spectrum. The Eldritch Knight and the Psi Warrior, they're instead on a different axis. They're about taking the core shtick of the fighter and combining it with, in the case of the Eldritch Knight, spellcasting, and in the case of the Psi Warrior, psionic power. And they give you 2 very different routes to follow, also mechanically, because the Eldritch Knight relies on spells mechanically, while the Psi Warrior relies on psionic energy dice and using unique abilities that are built into the Psi Warrior subclass. Now, in the Eldritch Knight, we've made several enhancements to take this popular subclass and make it even better. So one of the things that people will notice right away if they've played the Eldritch Knight before is we no longer have any School of Magic restrictions in the
nice.
Eldritch Knight. The Eldritch Knight, as well as the Rogue's Arcane Trickster subclass, used to have School of Magic restrictions in them when it came to your spell selection, and we have removed the restrictions from both of those subclasses because we wanted you to have more freedom to build the type of warrior mage you wanted to build with the Eldritch Knight, or in the case of the Arcane Trickster, the type of rogue mage that you wanted to create.
It's kind of interesting how all the psionic subclasses pop up in 5e. Is psionic that popular in high fantasy? I don't know. I'm sure it's probably because of Baldur's Gate 3, right? Like people getting to play with the Mind Flayers and then having kind of like some kind of abilities. I'm sure that helps. Because, I don't know, the idea of doing the psionic stuff is pretty sick. I like the idea of it. If you had a PSI warrior in one of your games, Jedis need more love in D&D. Oh, there you go. Yeah, just brain magic. Is it? Maybe I'm wrong. Isn't psionic? Aren't mind flayers psionic creatures? Expose my ignorance again. This is how I learn. Yeah, brain magic is good. I think it's just this is like the buzzword and it's very popular, and I think a lot of people have slowly started to do more stuff like this.
The Eldritch Knight also is helpful for the person who maybe does not want to dive into multi-classing, but again, wants a little bit of the chocolate mixed with their peanut butter.
Right.
That is the warrior mage. Now, in addition to that, we've also given the Eldritch Knight the ability to use an arcane focus, a detail that was missing in 2014. And then we've redesigned both War Magic and Improved War Magic. Previously, War Magic relied on you taking a bonus action to gain its benefit. Instead, you can now, with War Magic, take the attack action and replace one of your attacks with casting a cantrip. And then Improved War Magic, which also now does not rely on a bonus action, now lets you, when you take the attack action, replace two of your attacks to cast a level 1 or level 2 spell. So what this does is even better integrate the two parts of the Eldritch Knight's identity, their fighterliness and their spellcasting abilities, by taking the spellcasting abilities and really allowing them to take advantage of one of the fighter's main features relative to anyone else in the game, and that is simply the number of attacks that fighters get. Because fighters, with their extra attack feature, gain more attacks than anyone else in the game. The one exception being the monk. The monk does not get all their extra attacks through extra attack. Instead, it's through various unarmed strike shenanigans with their bonus action. And of course, it's the good kind of shenanigans. So this allows, in the Eldritch Knight, the ability for the fighter to integrate their spellcasting into the regular attack routine and then frees up their bonus action for other uses, so that it isn't being devoured by their subclass's main shtick.
That's what's new with the Eldritch Knight. Let's talk about the Psi Warrior.
So the Psi Warrior first appeared in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything and is a way for you to take the fighter foundation and add to it this character who manipulates the battlefield with the powers of their mind. And this includes various telekinetic abilities, being able to hurl things around with your mind, as well as defensive capabilities, all of which is handled by using psionic energy dice that represent your character's psionic energy. And the subclass, for anyone who has played it before, will feel very similar. And the main changes that we've made to it in integrating it into the new player's handbook has largely been to just reword things, reframe some things so that it fits naturally in the context of the new rule book and in the context of the broader fighter class.
I mean, that's most of the changes,
a
right?
lot of new things.
Yes.
Some dramatic improvements and changes, and a lot more to do.
Well,
that's
dramatic.
Fantastic. The new player's handbook is available for pre-order.
Okay. Little improvements, little things. I think I realized why I'm so middling on this. Like on these changes to the fighter. Well, first, you know what? What do you guys think? How are you guys feeling about the fighter? What do you guys think about these changes? Do they excite you? Are you amped to play them? Like some of them seem neat. They seem like small quality of life improvements. I guess D&Ds are more naturally occurring, unlike most magic spellcasting. Yeah, the whole psionics. I mean, it's all magic. It doesn't feel crazy to me. Fighters changes are pretty big. Definitely made the class better. I feel like the thing that, but man, especially for a new book, man, they don't really excite me. Yeah, I mean what were they called? Weapon feats. Those things. That's a good change. That's like the biggest change that seems to be happening in this book so far. It seems that they're very, at least fighters, a little less of I roll to attack, that's my turn. Yeah, that's fair. They're trying to add a little bit to make it more playable for sure. Doesn't warrant a new additional release. Yep. Fighter need to bridge the gap between casters. They fail to deliver almost completely. Yes, they do need utility. Weapon mastery should make fighters generally more interesting and tactical. Not have a reason to use a war pick. That's true. That's like almost like more of an improvement on weapons entirely, though it's weird that they're not doing it like just universally. I like to change the second wind skill roll. Yep, if you got an RP heavy session, at least you can contribute. Yeah, that seems good too. I think the reason why I feel so underwhelmed and middling about all these changes is that they're so, other than like the weapon mastery, a lot of them are so small that they're like things that I wouldn't notice if they changed. Like I would, but not seriously. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, I feel differently about this class. It wouldn't make me want to pick the class and start playing it. It wouldn't make me be like, oh, awesome. And this is where I want to be. Again, barring weapon mastery because that helps. But like all these changes are so small that if you just gave me this book, maybe I wouldn't notice the difference. You know? Does that seem reasonable? Like, am I not seeing the value that's happening here? I like to change the second wind. I like that they're tinkering with action economy to give people more interesting options. Yes, that's always good. I think a lot of people have wanted to homebrew this sort of thing, but lack the game theory knowledge. Sure, yeah, I agree. That and weapon mastery is full of all martials and not solely fighters, right? It's that 5.5 feeling, right? Absolutely. It's just so small. Like I can't believe we watched a 30-minute video that had such small tweaks. They're tweaks that are like, again, if you just put it in the book, I probably wouldn't have noticed most of those. But maybe they make it feel different while you're playing at the table. But I do want to pull up these weapon feats. Let's see if we can find D&D Beyond weapon. Is it weapon mastery? Is this how to use weapon master properties? Okay, cleave, graze, nick, push, sap, slow, topple, vex. Okay, I think that's a good amount. Okay, cleave for great axes. If you'll be wading into a thick of battle, you want to consider grabbing a weapon with a cleave property. This heavy weapon can slash through opponents. If you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack, you can make a second attack against a creature within 5 feet that is also within your reach. When you hit the second attack, you can roll your weapon's damage, but you don't add your ability modifier unless it's negative. This is excellent in combination with a halberd, which has reach and cleave, allowing you to cleave into enemies in extended range. This is sick. This is definitely a huge improvement. I love this. Let me make sure I'm not blocking it for you guys. Yeah, cleave is awesome. This is what something that feels like when you go into battle and you have this big heavy axe, you're like, why can't I hit the 3 people I'm around? Honestly, I think you should maybe could you get 3? Is 3 too many? Am I being a little greedy? I don't know. Just maybe get 3 enemies would be pretty sick, or anybody in your 5-foot radius. I guess if you have reach, then it gets crazy. Okay, let's see what Gray is. Gray is an excellent way for a great sword to increase the consistency of your weapon damage. If you miss with a creature with your weapon, you deal damage equal to the ability modifier you used to make the roll. This pairs well with ability that allows you to make a lot of attacks, like a fighter's extra attack feature or a polearm master or sentinel feats. It just goes to show that when a weapon is big enough, you don't really need to aim when you're swinging. That's pretty sick. This is the thing I'm most excited about the improvements. And guess what? Even if I don't get the books, I'm just gonna steal these things and put them in our game. Nick, for a dagger. To explain the Nick property, we should briefly cover that being able to attack twice while dual-wielding light weapons has subtle changes in the 2024 handbook. Instead of being covered under melee attacks, the rules for dual-wielding light weapons are covered under the light weapon property. Still functions the same way. When you make an attack with a weapon that has a light property, you can use a bonus action to make one attack with a different light weapon you're wielding. Okay. The Nick Mastery property allows you to make an additional attack you receive from wielding 2 light weapons as part of an initial attack action. Keep in mind that it doesn't mean you can make a third attack as a bonus action. Right, okay. And as a light property specifies, you can only get 1 extra attack. But while it may not pump your damage, this frees up bonus action, such as like rogues, cunning actions. So, okay, that is a nice little quality life improvement. Not as cool as the other ones, but it's just like it opens up your bonus action. Magic item great axe would be sick. I've been saying weapons are so boring for years. Now each weapon type has a unique property for its own use. Yeah, the weapon need a huge upgrade, and this is what they're doing. This is good for it. They tried to line up a lot of these rules changes like weapon mastery synergize with class changes. You got chocolate in my PB style. Yeah. All right, that's cool. I like Nick. Let's see how to push. Sometimes giving it enemy simple shove off a cliff or into a pit of lava is all you need to win an otherwise tough encounter. Yeah, push is actually great. The push mastery property allows you to launch a creature you hit 10 feet away from you without a save. Not only is this great when combined with an environmental hazard, it's also great with escaping opportunity attacks, right? If you or a less tanky party member are being harassed by an enemy, you can push an enemy 10 feet away, which can allow you to create a space needed to escape unscathed. So it's is it a May? Is this a May ability? Push mastery allows you to launch, okay, without a save. I hope it's a May. I would assume that you get to decide whether you send him flying or not. So keep in mind that you can only push enemies large or smaller. Okay, yeah, so you can't hit a giant thing. But I love being able to move people around on the battlefield through this. This seems way better. It just makes the battlefield feel more dynamic. Instead of everybody just goes to their square, they stop moving because they don't want attack of opportunities, and then they just start swinging. Now you're forcing people to move and get in. So like if you get in a good position, you can kind of push someone into someone else's attack of opportunity. So if they want to fight you again, they have to come at you and then leave that attack of opportunity. If you're really trolling, all you do is you push it into your friends, and then you just leave them and you go hit someone else, and then now they have 2 people on them. I think pushing 10 feet with no save is a bit much, but would have to test. Definitely strong with things like Clouded Daggers or Spike Growth. Also, yeah, you can choose whether or not to use the weapon ability, but some of them you obviously use always. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you're right. Maybe no test would be bad, but the problem is I just don't want to bog down combat with another roll of, another roll of like, okay, pass the check. It's just like another thing that takes like another 30 seconds because people forget and then they do the thing, and it just slows everything down. So I'm fine with it, but yeah, you're right. It might be a little broken. Sap, okay. If your job is to distract enemies for long enough to let your blaster caster friends deal with them, Sap is a solid choice. When you hit an enemy with attack, this mastery property inflicts disadvantage on your target's next attack roll before the start of your next turn. So if a heavily armored tanky build, your enemies will be so focused on trying to take you out that they won't even see the fireball coming. Yeah, okay, I like Sap seems really good too. Being able to give people disadvantage gives you a reason to use a mace. I've never used a mace, I don't think. And then slow. The master property is excellent for fast builds that like to flit across the battlefield. When you hit a creature and deal damage, you can reduce its speed by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. Okay, that's good. So yeah, it actually gives you some like terrain control. This combos excellently with like a light crossbow, allowing you to take shots, damage your opponents, and then move just out of their range of reduce their speed. Oh, okay, that kind of also feels bad because the movement can get so funky. Like chases that are in combat feel very bad. Rinse and repeat until they look like a pin cushion. It's important to note that a creature's speed can't be reduced by more than 10 feet with this property, so don't expect the standstill hit your enemies 3 times and not get caught. Okay. David, hey man, thanks for coming by. Appreciate you swinging in. All right, so we've got Topple. This mastery property is all for all those builds that love to wail on their enemies with multiple melee attacks. Okay, when you hit a creature, you can force it to make a Constitution saving throw or fall prone. The DC for this save is 8 plus the ability modifier used to make the attack plus your proficiency bonus. So a level 5 fighter with a maul could knock your opponents prone with their first attack. Then use their second attack and action surge to make multiple attacks with advantage. That is very good. Just remember, attacking prone enemies outside of 5 feet actually gives the attacker a disadvantage on their attack roll. So only use this ability if one or other melee-minded party members can take advantage of it. Yep. Yeah, this one could get annoying. Yeah, slow and topple feel like a lot. But okay, this one is one of the things I'm going to have to just see, like, actually in playtest, because I can't visualize how impactful it's going to be until you actually start doing it. Because I feel like I like these. And I honestly, this is a good start. I think this is perfect, like the ones they have. We just have to go over Vex. Well, here, let me say Vex, and then I'll say some of my thoughts. Vex have a weapon with Vex feels like a superior swordsman dancing around their opponent, striking, opening it until the battle is won. When you hit a creature and deal damage, this mastery property gives you advantage on your next attack roll before the end of your next turn. This is an excellent way for rogues to all but guarantee a sneak attack hit on their next turn. Oh, interesting. So it just gives you... So what is it? Which one's the sap makes the other person get disadvantage, where Vex gives you advantage? Okay. It'll be a lot to manage, but I think that's fine, especially as you get more used to these things. So you said, I love that longbows and heavy crossbows have different properties. Oh, that's cool. I guess it's important to remember that DMs and enemies also use these things, right? So it's going to be like a back and forth. So it hopefully will make more dynamic for a level 1 or level 2 spell slot. I don't know. Someone want to confirm for David whether that's the case? I didn't hold that information in my head. That's for sure. I think I saw that they could at least do like one of their attacks and then use at least a cantrip, but maybe level 1 or level 2 spell slot would be good. I like these. I think this is a perfect amount to add now, and I think it'd be great to expand this as time goes on. Like, I think making it so more and more weapons have more and more little feats. But this has got to be a playtest nightmare, like figuring out how all these work together. As an example, the fighter in my party would have a +5 to the save. So if he used Topple, that's a DC 13 con save every time he hits an enemy, and he is currently level 2. DC 13 isn't crazy, but it can be. Yeah, I mean, it's enough that it's definitely going to work a lot. Like, it's not going to feel useless. So yeah, people are just going to be on the ground all the time. Topple feels bad. Of all of them, I think Topple's the worst. That's one's the ones that probably needs the most help. And then again, for me, it just adding that extra moment of, all right, now can you make a DC save? And it just slows things down. But this is hands down the best thing that they've added out of everything. They should have started, I mean, honestly, maybe, no, the everything video, they didn't start with this. They talked about it a little bit, but they should have gone into detail. They should have had some visuals explaining, like, these are the ones, and this is how we make weapons actually feel good and different and impactful. I think there's still room for improvement on weapons in D&D. I think that's like one of the things that is the most lacking. Fighters were meh. And I'm afraid after all these classes, I'm just going to say meh, because the changes are so insignificant that it's just not the things that are important to me when I'm playing. It's not the reason I pick a character. It's not a reason that I want to play that kind of thing. I don't know. we're gonna go to the next one. I like the changes that they made. I'm just not excited about it. My guess is that they felt that giving disadvantage for ranged people will make you want to not want to topple, but if I can wail on an enemy with advantage, I'd probably take that always. Yeah, I would take that always because there's usually another enemy that they can attack that is not toppled. So you just like topple one guy, everybody gets advantage, pile in on the guy while the ranger is still shooting off the other guys, getting them, you know, the initial damage done, and then people come in and then they topple and do it again. Yeah, background I'm interested to see because I remember them talking about it. And I think it's a good divide, but it just felt like more reorganization of information instead of like big changes. But again, I want to see more details on it. So hopefully they have a video on that. All right, the fighter's down. Weapon mastery is good. We're going to start with the Paladin. But before we do, I got to use the restroom. So I'm going to be right back. Yeah, guys, if you don't mind, we'll hang out and I'll be back here in a second. All right, we're back. I wonder if this is a conversation you have with a party like, we've got topple users, so let's avoid the disadvantage. I don't imagine any monk weapons have topple, but imagine that. I think one of them does, but it's in the monk VOD. Okay. Monks now will get all simple weapons, I think. Oh, that's cool. Okay. And then, so would it be meta to topple, stunning strike with advantage, and then get, oh my, and then go beast mode? That's crazy. Man, yeah, topple and then to stunning is just devastating. All right. So that was the fighter. Now we're going to get into the Paladin. And I've been told that the Paladin has some interesting changes coming. We'll see if they're significant. And they might just change. Hopefully they don't change the whole identity of Paladin. All right, let's give it a look.
One of the things you'll notice as a Paladin player immediately when you see the new player's handbook is that your spellcasting has moved from level 2 to level 1. And so you will begin being able to cast spells right away. And this also has a carry-on effect for multi-classing, that if you multi-class now, you will get more slots out of the Paladin part of your multi-class mix than you did before.
How many people will multi-class? Again, I'm on the lazy side. We talked about this last stream. I am so lazy, so I don't multi-class very often because, again, also I'm not getting high enough level for it to like. I mean, I'm sure it matters at low levels, but like, I pick a character, I just want to play them through. Do you guys multi-class a lot? Because I'm sure this is actually a pretty relevant thing to be able to take one level in Paladin, get some spell slots, get some of the things that they have, and like it's worth it to just splash for the single level. I love multi-classing. Okay, good. Once, and that was hugely specific. Sure, about how my groups play multi-class with D&D. Okay, nice. I always felt multi-classing diminished the power you get from sticking to a class. And then I have a ranger druid. Okay, so you guys do multi-class a good amount. So I'm sure this is like super relevant for people. My best friend is a warlock multi-class addict. Not even for the meta. He just keeps making packs with higher powers. Hell yeah. You have to plan ahead. If you do, yeah, you do. You have to know what you're doing, and that's usually not what I'm doing. I'm not planning ahead. I just want to do the one thing and just stick to it. Again, story. But all right, I'm sure that's relevant for people who like to multi-class.
And when we talk about the ranger, we'll see that a similar thing happened there. We did this because we wanted Paladin players to start learning how to use their spells right away, because spells are a key part of the Paladin's kit.
Okay.
And having it at second level before meant you were waiting to learn how to use one of the most important parts of your class. So now there's no wait. You start right away at first level learning some spells, which you'll then need to know all about when you get to level 2 and you start doing Divine Smite.
Yeah.
At level
the only
1,
spell that matters.
You don't just get spellcasting now, though. You still get Lay on Hands, that iconic ability that Paladins have to heal themselves and others. And you also get Weapon Mastery. And so that means that Paladins, too, are going to get to play with all of the fun that Weapon Mastery brings to any of our classes focused on weapon use. Now, when you get to then level 2, there's more new stuff waiting for you. And at first, you might look at the class feature table for the Paladin and see, oh, fighting style, I had that before. But there's actually a lot of change hiding in there, good updates for the Paladin, because now, when you choose your fighting style as a Paladin, you are no longer restricted to a curated list like the Paladin was in 2014. You now have access to the full fighting style list that fighters also have access to.
Okay, interesting.
And you also have the option to forego choosing any of those and instead learning some cleric cantrips.
Oh, okay.
So if you decide that you'd rather be more of a spell hurling paladin rather than leaning harder into your weapon use, you now have that option in the fighting style feature at level 2.
That's fine. More diversity, always good.
Of a theme of us providing more customization options where it made sense in each of the classes.
Yeah.
You also now get
nothing like swinging gauntlets.
Paladin's Smite. This was called Divine Smite in 2014. It's now called Paladin's Smite because it actually now gives you two things. In 2014, this feature allowed you to use the class's iconic Divine Smite ability, where you burn a spell slot and deal a bucket load of extra damage to a target you just hit.
What we like.
Divine Smite still does that. Divine Smite, though, has now been packaged as a spell. And then the Paladin Smite feature, in addition to giving you that spell and allowing you to always have it prepared, also now lets you cast Divine Smite once per day without burning a spell slot. So what that means is Paladins now every day get a freebie Divine Smite.
Hell yeah, dude.
So that's going to
that's what I'm talking about.
A little bit some of the pressure on their spell slots. We did this that Paladins could certainly just use all their spell slots to cast Divine Smite, but we also wanted to make it just a smidge easier for Paladins to cast some of their other spells if they so choose.
Perfect.
Whoa. And now the bad news, because this sounds good. Yeah, I like this. I love Divine Smite. Now you just get another one, right? Am I missing something? Okay. Am I wrong? Like they get to still use all their spell slots plus they get one extra one? Or am I getting cucked here? What's happening?
Now, when we get to level 3, where you pick your subclass, you also get Channel Divinity, and here there's a really nice upgrade for Paladins in terms of the number of uses of Channel Divinity they get. It used to be that a Paladin got exactly one use of Channel Divinity, and then that was restored upon taking a short or a long rest. Now, you get 2 uses to start, and every time you take a short rest, you get 1 use back, and then when you take a long rest, you get all your uses back. But then even better, that 2 turns into a 3 when you hit level 11, so you're going to be able to use your Channel Divinity far more often.
You guys are making me, you guys are making me so nervous.
We've also taken the Divine Sense feature that Paladins used to have and turned it into a Channel Divinity option. And in the process, we've also made it last quite a bit longer. So if you do decide to use Divine Sense, rather than it lasting only 1 round, which was how long it lasted in 2014, it now is going to last 10 minutes. And we increased its duration, not only because you're now using your Channel Divinity on it, but also to make it easier to use, particularly in social interaction and exploration scenes. You know, the classic circumstance of the Paladin is at the Queen's Ball and is trying to figure out which of these partygoers is actually a demon or an undead in disguise.
Right.
This longer duration will allow the Paladin to get a bit more bang for their buck when they decide to use Divine Sense. We also, at level 5, have made it so that all Paladins now get the Find Steed spell for free. They always have it prepared, and they can cast it once per day without expending a spell.
Has it happened? Am I missing something? Am I big smooth brain? Is that what we're saying? I mean, so far these seem good, unless I just didn't understand. Someone simplify for Big Dumb, because Paladins were totally known for being horse riders. Yeah, true. He kind of explained it. Paladin Smite is a bonus action. It's a bonus action? Wait. But think about Divine Smite becoming a spell. So Divine Smite, all right. I'm so stupid. This is why I shouldn't stream. Start at 2nd level. When you hit a creature with a melee weapon, you can expend 1 spell slot to deal radiant damage. Right, so you're expending a spell slot. So then if this Paladin's amounts... well, that is a very World of Warcraft. But it's a bonus action spell you cast after you hit an enemy. So you just get a... So it's just like cracked now. It's just like completely broken. Is that what we're saying? That's... So... Smite is the only thing you need. Even more so. And yeah, wait, get a steed is kind of crazy. How often can you cast spells return? I spoon feed me. You're saying that it could be counterspelled? It used to be able to cast Smite without spinning and bonus action. It's only once per turn because you have 1 bonus action. Oh, I see. And do they get multiple attacks, right? Oh, because of extra level. So then you can't just like do 1,000 damage on 1 turn because you just smite. You only get the once. I mean, is that fine? Mike, I appreciate you. You always got my back. Everybody needs that hype, man. I appreciate you, man. Is this... Okay, again, I don't play high enough level. So if we are smiting only once per turn, I mean, I feel like they're still extraordinarily viable. It just brings them down a little bit. Is this a control? Where people fall on this? It's definitely a balancing issue, but it lost a lot of its power being turned into a bonus action. Right, because now you're not doing it on every hit. Yeah, exactly. It's like it breaks the game for sure. It's probably for the best. Including one free smite. Yeah, so they gave you the first like, hey, okay, listen, we're gonna give you an extra smite. Don't you worry, you get an extra one plus you get some extra spell slots. You know, I don't know. It seems good. But you only gonna do it once. And they just slip that in there and then move on. D&D players and Yu-Gi-Oh players have one thing in common: we can't read. Yeah. You don't read here. Less Nova, but more constant. Yeah, I think honestly that's probably better for the game. Because again, do we need a strategist? Do we need a boss to just get melted in one round? I don't know. It's not my fault that I don't know how to do anything. I'm with them on this change. You've got to choose whether this BA is for harm or heal. Yeah. I'm. Apparently this might be a controversial take, but I think this is fine. It does suck. It does get rid of the thing. The smite spells are a lot better. Okay, good. You're still gonna smite. Like the thing is, the core structure of the character is just every turn I'm smiting. Every turn I can. I'm just not doing 10 million damage. Okay. Yeah, are we team? This is a probably for the better change, whether it is or whether we like it or not. Yeah. Dude, I'm so disappointed. You know what would have been awesome? Something that really blew my mind. Really changed my opinion about what's going on. And this feels like just like a minor tweak. I don't know. Disappointed. Sad. Wishing for more. All right. Let's get back into it. Let's see the other tiny changes. Definitely better than what they did to the Ranger. The only reason I think it sucks is because making a bonus action implies that it's something you spend time doing when you instantly just might. That is true. It does feel out. Make great content. The special effects you sometimes use are great. Your stuff is informative, clear, and easy to understand. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you. Taking away the bonus action does suck. Why couldn't they just put a stipulation of once per turn if that's really what they wanted? I'm still using every turn to just use smite.
Slot. Find Steed is an iconic Paladin spell, and we decided we did not want a Paladin to have to use up one of their spell preparation slots on that spell.
Right.
Kale, thanks for hanging out, man.
Wanted you to be able to use it at least once.
Take it easy, brother.
Having
Appreciate you watching.
One of your
See you on the next one.
slots.
Streaming Wednesday if you want to come around.
Rangers do have fewer spell slots than many of our other spellcasters. And then on top of that, the Find Steed spell has been completely redesigned for the Paladin so that the Steed can now get more powerful depending on the level of the spell slot you use to cast the spell.
I don't think I've ever used a spell.
And the Steed is now not reliant on particular animal stat blocks, but instead has a stat block all its own, specially designed for the Paladin.
Perfect.
So you really feel like you are summoning this otherworldly creature that isn't just a horse or some other creature that you're riding around on, but is this otherworldly being that is there to work with you really as a companion, as this faithful companion there to assist the Paladin and the Paladins.
This is for the VTT. They're like, how can we sell mounts, mount skins to Paladins? This is what that's for. They're like, so it's like an otherworldly being, so it's not just a horse. So you could get this really cool, flaming head horse, $3 in the D&D Beyond microtransaction store. Bring back Cavalier would be sick. I think Find Steed being a base is so weird of a choice. Not to mention Paladin are just going to flex on the party while doing any amount of traveling. Yeah. That is true. it would definitely be a bit where I'm like, all right, see you guys later, and then end up there first and just wait. Yeah, this is Murloc Mountain. I'm locked in. Yeah, boom. They know how to get you. They know how to get me. Like, that's what's gonna do. That's what. I feel like, yeah, they really need to implement how do we get mount skins into D&D.
Friends.
That's amazing.
I am hoping that with this change, many paladins will feel more empowered to have
Can't stop me.
these
I got a
really
horse.
cool
What do you want me to do?
companions present on their adventures.
And that's again living out that fantasy and honing in on that wish fulfillment of wanting to smite more and also getting that steed like sooner and easier.
Absolutely. We also have in the core class given all paladins a new feature called Abjure Foes, and this gives all paladins a juicy use for their channel divinity. A number of our paladin subclasses in the past had a channel divinity option that was very similar to Abjure Foes, but it was sort of slightly changed in a number of the subclasses. We decided to take those variants, create a universal version that all paladins are
How many
happy
times are you
to
going to show
have,
this picture?
and now built it into the base class.
All right, we're counting this one.
We
Starting from now
also
on.
did some under the hood work
Displacer
on
Beast
the
picture
Paladin's
1.
aura. Partly by turning it into a single aura that gains additional abilities. Previously, the Paladin, and particularly based on whatever subclass you ended up picking, would
That's a
end
good
up
oath.
having multiple different auras, some of them with different radii.
Yeah.
And it could start getting quite confusing keeping track of like all of your different auras and how big is this one versus that one.
Yeah.
So we sort of cleaned up the whole aura game for paladins by in the base class and then also in the subclasses that are in this book, all of the auras that used to be different auras before are now all one aura that simply gains new functionality. So it's going to be far easier for the paladin to keep track of what's going on because the paladin now has just one aura that just gains cool new features as the paladin goes up in level. The aura also makes use of a new type of area of effect that we've introduced in the new player's handbook. And it is an area of effect that has been in the game for the last 10 years, but didn't have a name. And we decided to finally give it a name. And I'm bringing it up now while talking about the Paladin, because it's specifically for things like auras and other effects that emanate outward from a particular creature or object. And so this
Diablo
area of
Barbarian.
effect is called
Is that what that does?
emanation.
I would buy it.
We've seen it all over the place in 5th edition over the last 10 years. Basically, anytime you read a feature or a monster ability or a spell that talked about creatures within a certain radius being affected by something, that was basically an emanation. It just wasn't called that.
Yeah.
So we have now given that area of effect a name and given it its own definition, just as the other areas of effect in our system have definitions.
Terrence, this is why we can't have
And
nice
you can
things,
now
man.
find all of those definitions in the Player's Handbook's rules glossary. One other thing in the Paladin that I wanted to chat about, because this is the first of the spellcasting classes that we have talked about, is the new approach to spell lists. So each spellcasting class now has its spell list inside the class description. So rather than making a paladin or a ranger or a warlock or
Go
another
all the way
spell,
back to the end of the book.
instead it's right there in the class description. But in addition to that, we have worked to make
This
the
is-
spell list that's in your class more useful for you. And we've done that by not only giving you all the spells by name, but also every spell's school of magic is listed. We also tell you if the spell on your list requires concentration. We also tell you if it's a ritual. And we also tell you if it has a specific component that you must have to cast.
They keep going back, like them talking about the spell lists is now like where it is in the book is like, it really capitalizes on that. They're just doing small quality of life improvements, and to them, that's like the big selling point. That should just be something when you get the book, you're like, oh shit, that's great. I love that that's there. Now I don't have to look for it. What a nice little improvement. It's not something that they're like, in our advertising books to get you to buy this. It's like, did you know where we put the spell list? It's right there. It's like, it's such a small thing. It doesn't bother me to have to go to the back of the book to look for the spell list. If you prefer, if you search something along the lines of D&D Beyond 24, they seem to have articles comparing 2014 to 2024. Yeah, I might swap over to that. Because yeah, these videos are just very slow paced. Like, I'm having a hard time keeping focus on exactly what they're saying. Every time I make a paladin, they start off so proud that the only place they can go is to fall and become depraved. Absolutely. What else do you do with them? Like a bad version of Beastmaster Ranger. I agree. It could be to mount selling. That's good. Yeah. Notice how on all the artwork, no matter the situation, everyone is smiling. Just realize that. Ooh, okay. That's the other thing to look for. Okay, how many times Displacer Beast? And if we find a picture where someone's not smiling, we'll count this. They're definitely showing off the teeth. It's like a grimace, but he's happy underneath. We all know.
Cast the spell. So in those cases, when a component has a specific cost or the spell consumes the component, you must have that component to cast that spell. And so we now tell you in your class spell list if the spell has a required component, so that you now have sort of one-stop shopping for your spells, and you can see at a glance what the spell school of magic is, if it requires concentration, if it's a ritual, and if it has a specific component you must have to cast it.
This is all meant for if you're a player and you play paladins or warlocks, you have less pages you need to traverse to understand what you have and what you need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Paladin subclasses have all received some fun updates.
All right, let's see what these sound like.
Starting with the Oath of Devotion.
Yeah, let's start with the Oath of Devotion. What is new here?
One of the biggies right away is the Oath of Devotion.
Why do they do this interview style? I now that I'm thinking about like the presentation of information, I'm upset about it again because I can't stop doing it. And again, I know I'm being pessimistic, and we will go back to positivity. Just 1 second. Just give me 1 second to be a little more pessimistic. Just 1 second. Why are they doing this interview style? Like it's supposed to be this casual thing when they could just like do it. Him talking to camera, telling us excitedly about what he wants, and making it so it's more concise, and they could edit down the places where he's like trying to look through his notes instead of trying to make him do it live. Like, why do this long version? Why? I don't understand. I really wish that's not how they did this. You know what I mean? I really wish they presented this information so differently, because it's just there's so much space, and the way content is going, everything's faster or more efficient in getting to the point, that there's just like so many gaps between the information that's relevant that I keep on just like drifting away. Okay, now with that out of the way, back to open mind, back to positivity. Let's see. Let's go with the oath. Well, yeah, the interview style they went seems pretty artificial. Cause yeah, it's already fake. It's not authentic. So like, why are you just do the full fake thing? Like then it feels at least real. Yeah, they just need to do these videos to reach. It's like they needed the videos to reach. Like, yeah, dude, this is a college essay. That's what they're doing. They're doing a college essay where they're like, we didn't get our word count. But who asked for that? Like, know your base core audience. Know who wants this. I'm in the core of who should be like amped about this thing. I'm like so in the niche, in the dead center of like their target audience, and I just am having such a hard time caring, and that shouldn't be difficult. You know, like it's so easy to get me excited about these little things. Showed up late was fighter fun, had to hard to improve perfection. Yeah, the best thing they improved was the weapon mastery. Other than that, it's just a lot of like small changes. You know what I mean? Weapon mastery is dope. That's great. They should definitely add that. But a lot of the other stuff is small. I'm sure it's going to play better. I'm sure it's going to be exciting and yeah, all that. But underwhelmed. Again, underwhelmed has been my word of the day. And I'm sure people are going to have more fun doing this. I'm sure the classes are better. That's probably undeniable. Because everything has to pretend to be a conversation. We're all best friends. Business can't just act like business anymore. Yeah, but they're still doing I'm 100% with you. That's like what they're going for, but they're still doing such corporate speak that they're not saying anything that's authentic. It's like the first video was just them saying things are good and exciting without saying what things are good and exciting. And now they're realizing they don't have enough content to express how big it is. So what they're doing is they're filling out the time. They're like, look how long this video is. There's got to be so many changes. If that's a 30-minute video just for the fighter, they must change everything. So I'm going to buy the book. I'm not going to watch the video because it's so boring and I can't actually get through it. But we'll just do this. So now people will think there's a lot of changes, but there's not. It's just tiny little things. If owners of 5e would get an Uber discount on 5.5e, I would feel so much better. Yeah. But there's no way they're doing that. CFO pretending to be an audience plant. Yeah, right. Yeah. It's just everything feels so disingenuous. You can see there's no life behind their eyes. They're not excited, and I wish they were. Okay. No more rant. Back to positivity. Open mind. The subclasses are going to be cool, guys. This is going to be awesome.
Can now activate their sacred weapon feature as part of the attack action rather than sacking their entire action to do it.
Yeah.
In the past, it was so punishing to have to use your entire action to activate it that many Paladin players just decided not to use it. Now, as a part of attacking, you can simply decide, I'm going to activate this. We have also replaced in the Oath of Devotion the feature that was previously called Purity of Spirit with a new feature called Smite of Protection. And what this now does is when you use your Divine Smite, because the Oath of Devotion Paladin is the classic knight in shining armor who is there to protect others, it now means that when you use Divine Smite, you and your allies in your aura of protection have half cover for a limited time. So you have this magical protection that gives you the full benefits of half cover, even if you're standing out in the open, as long as your friends are in that aura of protection. And so this gives a nice feeling of being a guardian, even when you're blasting your foes with Divine Smite. We've also made it so that the level 20 ability, Holy Nimbus, is now usable as a bonus action instead of an action, because we want you to be able to activate it and then keep going on your turn, rather than essentially spending an entire
Keeper Rocks, thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate you.
And there
Have a good one.
are a number of places in the player's handbook where abilities that really are just turning on a state have often now been changed from being an action to a bonus action, or in some cases, like with Sacred Weapon in Oath of Devotion, don't require an action or a bonus action at all, and instead are absorbed into another action. Because again, in many cases, we want you to get to the fun faster. The Oath of Devotion is joined by the Oath of Glory. This, for me, is often the Paladin who, if they were in a movie, would...
All right, we're trying, if it's cool with you guys, we're going to go see if we can get the Paladin article. Okay? Because I'm having a hard time getting through this video. So if it's all right, if everybody's okay with it, we're going to swap over to see if the articles have more concise information. Please switch. Thank you. Okay? Good. I just can't do it. I'm literally like, I'm floating away, man. Okay, let's D&D Beyond 2024 Paladin. Let's see which one it is. Nope, not that. Is it this? Is this it? Oh, and it literally just has the actual class. What the hell was I doing, guys? This is so much more efficient. Okay. Yeah. 24 verse 14. All right, what's new? This is perfect. This is we're gonna go through this. And we're gonna see if this works better for us. If you guys want to finish the video, we can do that too. But I want to go through this and see if I can get and actually hold some of the information in my head compared to that video. It's killing me. All right. Ever the stalwart warrior of divine power. Let me just give you a longer format of the article. Very little extra info is shared. Okay, good. All right, that makes me feel better. Ever the stalwart warrior of divine power, the Paladin returns to the 2024 Player's Handbook with a new yet still familiar arsenal at their disposal. Lay on hands and their signature smite feature appear once more, but with a new look and refined wording alongside new features such as Faithful Seed and Weapon Mastery. Oh, and you can now smite with your fists. That's dope. I do like that. And it's like they added like a... literally the videos just get longer. Nah, he said get to the fun faster. Gotta skip the video to follow his advice. Gotta skip the video. Yeah. Get to the fun faster, I see. And this is what we're gonna do. In this article, we'll cover the highlights of the 2024 Paladin that you'll find in the pages of a new player's handbook. If you don't see a feature covered, such as Aura Protection, that means it is unchanged from the 2024 Paladin, or 2014 Paladin, or only saw very minor changes. Save up to $60 when you pre-order the digital and physical core rulebook bundle. I think we talked about that. Like, if you get one, you should get the other, or at like such a heavy discount. All right. So, class feature, Lay on Hands, level 1, now a bonus action. No longer affects diseases, but can be used on constructs and undead. Okay. Good. Spellcasting. Paladins have access to spellcasting from level 1. Yeah, we talked about that with like multi-classing. That seems good. Number of prepared spells is a fixed numbered list in the Paladin table. Sure. Weapon Mastery. Choose 2 weapons you're proficient with. You gain use of their mastery properties. It may change your chosen weapon each long rest. Choose 2 weapons you're proficient with. You gain... So is the change... You may change your chosen weapon. Is the change between one of those 2 weapons? Or is it between... Like, you can change the 2 weapons you're proficient with. Choose 2 weapons you're proficient with. You gain access. I hope that it's more diverse. But okay, I like the ability to change. And I'm glad that they get weapon mastery. Fighting style. Fighting styles are now feats and have some minor tweaks. Blessed Warrior from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything has been made a default option. Okay. Pretty small change here. Always have the Divine Sight smell prepared. Good. Can be used with unarmed strikes. Now requires a bonus action, which you can take immediately after hitting creatures with an attack. Right. And this is the controversial thing, though I think it's probably good in the long run. Can be used twice before short or long rest. The Paladin Divine Sense feature is now a part of Channel Divinity. Oath of Devotion subclass features last longer and have reduced action cost. Divine Smite also now grants cover to you and your allies. Oath of Glory, Peerless Athlete has a longer duration, and your Aura ability has a larger radius. Okay, here's the thing. Like, all of these changes, I'm sure are impactful. I just like, I wouldn't think about these things until I just had to make the character, and then I looked through and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I get this now. Like, I wouldn't notice. Because, like, right now, do I know what Oath of the Ancients does off the top of my head? No. So I don't know, like, is this a change that I care about? Probably not, because I don't have, like, most of the things memorized, right? As a Paladin, you just select 2 weapon types to use masteries with, but you can, like, practice in the morning to use them on other weapons. As a Paladin, you select 2 weapon types to use mastery with, but you can practice in the morning to use them on other weapons. I see. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so Aura of Warding now affects specific damage types rather than just spell damage, and Undying Sentinel now lets you regain hit points. Elder Champion can also be restored using a level 5 spell slot. Oath of Vengeance, Vow of Enmity no longer requires a bonus action, has a larger range, and can be transferred on killing a creature. Avenging Angel can be restored using a level 5 spell slot. We've talked about Faithful Steed. After foes use Channel Divinity to potentially cause a number of creatures equal to your Charisma modifier to become frightened of you. While frightened this way, they can only use a limited action. And then right here, this is, I know you guys go to 14, but right here is right when I stop. Right when the things that matter to me stop happening. If an ally with frightened condition enters your aura, the condition is no longer has any effect. Okay. Now works with unarmed strikes, radiant strikes. Radiant strikes now works with unarmed strikes. Restoring touch, spend 5 hit points from your lay on hands pool to remove a selected condition. Can remove multiple conditions by spending more points. The problem is this is just as boring, guys. What am I doing? Choose an epic boon or another feat of your choice. That's your level 20, and it should just be always epic boon or your level 19. What the fuck do we do here, guys? Like, I get that I'm getting the little shifts, but I'm realizing how little I care about some of these things. I wish so. The big changes are the weapon mastery. There's background changes. The class changes are small. There's quality of life improvements like making actions bonus actions. Right, like that's so underwhelming. To making actions bonus actions. Like, yes, it has an impact on the game, but it's so underwhelming. You know, it doesn't work for what we're doing, or like what I care about when I play D&D, because we're so story centric, and we just don't get that far in the levels. And I'm sure there's a player base who really gets into this, like who really likes to min-max their characters and get see how they can maximize, get the correct feats, and do all those things. But we have like Paladin Smite. We've already talked about that. The subclasses, Oath of Devotion. Do you guys read like the other classes? That you don't play? Most people just homebrewed actions to bonus actions if that's what they wanted to do. Right, like there are things that you're just like, oh, that feels bad. We're going to do that instead. Like we even do some stuff that I'm sure is very broken, but like we only have one spellcaster, like hard spellcaster in our group right now. And so since we're low level, they have a limited number of spells. If they have a spell that just fails, we don't make them expend a spell slot, just so they feel a little bit more in it. Yeah, as a forever GM, I feel like I rarely read through classes. Yeah, it doesn't really do anything for me. Because going on this detour, like this is all the things I'm seeing changed are just they're little home improvement or little life improvement. So I wouldn't read this. This would be just a waste. You know what I mean? I'm in 3 campaigns through most of the classes for making characters. Yeah, I get if you're doing, like, at one point I've read through all the classes. I'm just not doing it now. You know? I've always felt the majority of spells should be ritual castable, assuming they aren't combat spells. That's how we homebrew it. If you're high enough level to do it and you want to do something, you can ritual cast. And also, like, outside of combat, we make it so, like, spells, like non-damage spells, don't even take a spell slot, so that people can just start like using their utility spells and not feel like they have to save them, because that makes just for a more fun game. People are more engaged if they can actually use their stuff. But again, those are probably broken house rules, but we don't need to worry about it because it works only specifically for our group, and that's how to do this. So like this changing an action to a bonus action is like, it doesn't make me want to buy the book. What do we do going forward then, guys? Do we want to keep watching these videos? Because reading through this, it doesn't do a lot for me. Like, I feel like I'm doing homework. You know? So there's 10 minutes left on this. And we basically saw all the changes. Right? Like, what do we got? Most replayed, Oath of Vengeance. I guess maybe we go back to watching the videos, because I don't know what else you guys gets through the details quicker to go through the other thing. Yeah, you know what? All right, let's look at the Barbarian. We'll see if the Barbarian works. D&D Beyond 2024 Barb. think it's this one. What's new? Right? I think these videos are more for people that main a class. Yeah. Like, is this just going to be rage? Because the problem is I also don't remember what these things do differently. Oh, sorry. Inexpensive COQ. Hello, sorry for bothering you. I want to offer promotion for your... Nope, never mind. You get those Twitch, scams. What are we going to do with that? I also think the videos come out once a day. Watching multiple at once is rough. Lol, that is true. This gets through the details quicker. Yeah, but I don't even remember the things. Like, I don't remember what is the change. You know what? I think the lower section is more explanatory of what changed. Down here? Okay, yeah, let's try this. Rage. So this is the change for Barbarians for the 2024. You can't be the Hulk of your adventuring party without a persistent, nigh uncontrollable rage. The 2024 Player's Handbook makes it easy to keep your rage rolling by allowing you to expend a bonus action to maintain your rage. Your rage is also extended if you force an enemy to make a saving throw. I mean, do you guys actually stop rages? Like, I feel like I never stop them. It's like, it's fine. You know, they just can keep going. The comments on the videos, yeah, maybe we go back and check some of the comments and see how people are feeling. But yeah, I don't really, like, I know you're supposed to break rage and all that, but like, I usually just let them. They're still in combat. Like, there's still a threat to their life. So thematically and storytelling wise, it makes sense that you would do that, you know? I forget that it should stop. Right. It's just like, you're in a fight. You're not going to stop being angry because someone stopped hitting you for 6 seconds, you know? Like, you're gonna still be pretty angry. Previously, you would like to make a weapon attack or take damage to continue raging, but if you're taking your turn to do something mundane, such as climbing a ladder, you don't want to expend another use of rage once you get to the top. You now also regain 1 use of rage when you finish a short rest, but it's more likely you'll have this key Barbarian feature available when you roll initiative. That's good. I feel like I don't even know if I care about limits on yeah, it's odd that it ends after 6 seconds. I'm not even sure I care if there's an amount of rages that someone has. Like, did they just stop getting angry? Did they go to therapy? What happened? Why are they no longer able to get so angry? You know? They're still angry. Yeah, you're right. It also doesn't come up. So maybe that's just a quality of life. But again, that's not how the way I homebrew it has no impact. Hey man, can you rank my character? Bentley? What do you mean by rank your character? Like your build or like your story concept? I mean, maybe we can switch over to doing something like that. Okay, recovering a rage is good because dungeon crawls can be rough, specifically for barbarians. Yeah, recovering the rage is a good idea. I just don't even care if people run out. Like, I think you just keep going. Just your character stats. I mean, sure, dude, throw them in there. I'll give you a quick. My opinion doesn't matter. You know, I'll give you a quick idea. I'm not a one to judge, man, on these things. Like, a lot of people who know, I can send it in chat real quick. I mean, I think so. Well, why not? I'm not going to stop you. Unless YouTube stops you, then different problems, you know? So yeah, I'm also not the person to actually rate, like D&D shorts, right? He knows the breakdown. He's like doing tiers of things. That's not how I play D&D. I just don't care about that stuff as much. I'd rather just have good character development and good story arc. Those are the things that are like my main go-tos. Played a group of barbarians with my friends where we had to rage at any provocation, but if it ended early, we had to roleplay post-nut clarity. That's crazy. That's so funny. So you have to... Everybody's in. Everybody's getting amped. Anybody looks at you funny. You're a bunch of frat bros. Oh, my God. That's what you're just a bunch of You played a group of frat bros who are walking down the main drag, You know, if someone looks at him funny, you got your shoulders puffed out, and then you're just in a immediate fight, and then afterwards you're like, ah, shit, my bad, dude. And then you're dapping him up afterwards, giving him a hug like, I didn't mean to do that to you, dude. It's a rough night, you know. That's a great bit, man. I love that. Okay, let's keep going with weapon mastery. So barbarians also get weapon mastery, but they only get for great axe and hand axe. That's thematic. Find more ways to crush, slash, or generally pulverize your enemies with the new weapon mastery feature. At level 1, you can choose 2 simple or martial melee weapons and access their mastery properties. The number of mastery properties you can access at any given time as you level up, and they can be swapped at the end of each long rest. Okay, sure. Just because we know how much barbarians love chopping things, it's suggested to learn the great axe and the hand axe mastery properties. Okay, and we've talked about cleave and vex. It's a suggestion, not a limit. You can choose any weapon. Oh, okay, got it. I can't send, unfortunately. That's good. You can't send, unfortunately. Dude, yeah. Hit me with a. You can send it to nodicettrpg@gmail.com. If you want to send it to my Gmail, you can send it there. nodicettrpg. You get more than great axe and hand axe. They're just suggesting. Okay, got it. The barbarian spidey sense. I feel like I wish they kind of just gave almost all weapons these kinds of different things, or made it so like specialty weapons. So like a base great axe, right? It's just a base great axe. You don't get the extra what is it? Cleave. But if you get like an upgraded great axe, you get the cleave great axe, then you have that upgrade, so that at least there's like a scale to improve. And then fighters, the way I think they should have done it, is made it so they can add different kind of elements like cleave or vex to weapons and swap it out as they see fit. So that way that they have this choice to be tactical and decide what to do. And their skill with different weapons lets them like utilize them to the best degree that they can. But I don't know. I mean, maybe this is more balanced, but I'm probably wrong in this. I will admit I'm most likely wrong in this, but I feel like that would be a more dynamic way to do it, because it's going to feel bad when you get to a spellcaster and they can't. They're just like, I just have a sword, but they have spells. So I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Strength 4 plus 2, Dex 16 plus 3. Okay. Con, intelligence, wisdom. Is that any good? Yeah, man, you're going to be fine. Don't worry about the stats. Like, you're going to be... No one's going to be like, what? You're doing this wrong. This is good, right? I mean, I think we all agree that if those stats are fine. I mean, you have no negatives. You're great. However your group decides... If they're like a min-maxer group, you know, I don't know. Talk to them and I'm sure they'll help you out. But your stats don't really matter. I'm a barbarian warlock. It's my first character. Oh, that's perfect. You're gonna have fun, man. Just get in there, you know, make mistakes. So you'll find out what works and doesn't, and then you can do it again. All right, danger sense. The barbarian spidey senses have been given a buff. Previously, you'd have to be able to hear or see a fireball streaking toward you in order to get advantage on your subsequent dexterity throw. Now you can dodge effectively even when blinded or deafened. Okay. Skeevers, the possessed pyro rat. Sick. Hell yeah, man. I'm all for it. All right, guys, I think we're going back to the video. At least then I can be angry about what's happening in the presentation. But yeah, this is like reading homework, because I'm not going to use this information anytime soon, you know? So if it's cool with you, we're going back. We took a little detour. I'm a little baby. I want to be spoon-fed, and I want someone to read it for me, even though it takes them 3 hours to do it.
Look at the camera. Have impossibly white teeth.
I did. Yeah, I got played
on them as they smile. The Oath of Glory appeared previously in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, as well as in Mythic Odysseys of Theros.
Yeah. That's where it first came from.
And it has evolved a bit on its way to the player's
No, Mad Egg, you're right. I can always go back to that one.
Two of the main evolutions that I think are worth talking about here.
Right.
One is the Peerless Athlete feature now lasts for an hour rather than 10 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
Bentley, just use I think you'll probably start with the basic axe. You'll be fine. If you guys are, it depends on what level you're starting at, but if you're starting level 1, you won't have a magic weapon that soon. At least in my group, you wouldn't.
This feature is especially useful in exploration contexts.
Exactly, yeah.
And so we wanted it to be more useful in that pillar of adventure. The other big change is to Aura of Alacrity. The new feature here is that it not only benefits your allies.
We are still talking about paladins. Yeah. Terrence, good call. All right, we're going back to barbarians. Paladin, we got the general sense. What's the Oath of Vengeance?
Some new upgrade. And so that leaves us then with the Oath of Vengeance. This was another subclass that was super solid, but still has
were all of these in the base book?
Fun new toys.
Did I forget about these?
One of the biggies, because it affects the subclass's most iconic ability, its Vow of Enmity, is you no longer have to use your bonus action to activate your Vow of Enmity. This you can now use simply as a part of the attack action.
Wow.
And we've also made it so that
Vengeance.
if
What's
the
the new one?
target of your Vow of Enmity perishes, you now
Glory might
have
be
a window of time where you can transfer it to somebody else. Because it used to be that you would place it on somebody, and if they got felled quickly enough,
right,
it's like, well,
I guess that's done. Or someone else kills them, yeah.
Okay. And so now, similar to how Hunter's Mark functions, where you can move that spell around, you can now also move around your Vow of Enmity. At level 20, with their Avenging Angel ability, we've made two major enhancements.
Glory was in a different book.
One
that
of
makes
them
sense.
Is you can now activate it as a bonus action instead of an action.
Thank you. The new player's handbook is available for
Glory,
pre-order
Devotion,
right now on D&D
Ancient.
Beyond. You
Got
can
it.
find that link in the video.
All right, we're going to the Barbarian. Paladin was slow. So it seems like we heard some of those things, but let's hear them say it in the slowest fashion possible.
There is a lot new inside our friend who loves to launch into a rage and charge into battle. So first off, the Barbarian, like several of the other classes that focus on weapon use, now gets weapon mastery at first level. So just as weapon mastery transforms how the fighter plays and the rogue plays and others, it's going to transform how the Barbarian plays depending on which mastery properties the Barbarian player decides to unlock for their Barbarian. I'm guessing many Barbarians are going to be cleaving quite a bit.
Yes.
But there are also other really tasty options for the Barbarian who wants to take their weapon and just wreak havoc. Now, there's more. We at first level have also made it easier for...
Mad Dog, that's exactly right. It would have been so much easier because every martial class, they've said it every single time, gets weapon mastery, which is great. That's how it should be.
For barbarians to maintain their rage.
Yeah.
Any of us who play barbarians and love playing them know sometimes the complexity of, can I keep my rage going? And with that in mind, we've made it so that if there's no one nearby, no enemy nearby that you can attack to keep your rage going, you now have the option of either forcing an enemy to make a saving throw with one of your abilities. This, by the way, is a nice boon for Dragonborn barbarians who can keep now their rage going by using their breath weapon, because that forces people to make saving throws.
Oh, nice.
But even better,
interesting. I would have never thought of that.
You also have the fallback option now as a barbarian of simply burning your bonus action once your rage is going to keep the rage its fires blazing as you continue the battle. And our thinking here was that since we allow you to activate the rage with a bonus action, why not allow you to keep it going with bonus actions?
This has also been core to a lot of the design philosophy in the book of this is the identity of this class or this subclass. Why not allow you an easier path towards that identity?
Absolutely. In every case, we want to take what is special about a class, protect it, amplify it, and see if there are new ways we can allow you to engage with your class features and feel like, in each case, you are the most archetypal version of your class. So with that in mind, barbarians get even more. At level 2 in danger sense, we've now made it so that you no longer have to see the source of danger to benefit from this feature. And the only thing that turns danger sense off now is being incapacitated. We really wanted to lean in harder to the barbarian having this preternatural sense of danger, and whether the barbarian sees it or not, they get, it's almost like their spider sense, something wrong is about to happen, right? We've also made it so that barbarians can now participate more meaningfully in non-combat situations with a brand new feature at level 3 called Primal Knowledge.
Yeah, I love this.
And I'm so glad to hear that. We had a lot of fun designing it.
Okay.
We had a different version of Primal Knowledge in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So even though the name has appeared before, the feature itself is actually a totally new feature in the new player's handbook that now allows you as a barbarian, while your rage is going, to make certain ability checks that use particular skills and make those checks using strength, regardless of what the normal ability is for those particular ability checks. Just keep in mind, this is going on during their rage, and their rage always involves them tapping into this deep well of primal power. And it is effectively a supernatural ability that is transforming how they are making these ability checks. That before rage was only useful when the barbarian wanted to destroy something. Well, now the barbarian can also tap into their primal power to give themselves a presence, a control that will assist them in other situations as well.
That's perfect.
That's pretty interesting. I wonder how that's going to work roleplay wise. I'm interested to see someone use that at the table. Because it actually works on, but it's not all of them. Oh, interesting. That makes sense. I mean, I assume intimidation. Like, I wonder if there's like a persuasion, but I would assume not. Like, is the idea that I'm so angry that I'm now good at lockpicking? Is that kind of what's happening? It's like you don't need lockpicking tools if you just smash it with your fist, but that still feels like break things. I don't know. I think it's fine. People are just going into rage out of combat anyways, just for the memes.
Primal Knowledge is actually one of my favorite things that we've done in the Barbarian, because I love playing this class, and I really like the idea of allowing barbarians to tap into their primary feature and feel like it's benefiting them in every adventuring context.
Yeah.
And on the cherry on top is this feature also gives the barbarian another skill proficiency. Because we wanted the barbarian to feel even more well-rounded in terms of their capabilities.
It feels like, if you do play a 2024 character, and I know they've already said this, that if one character is 2024, everybody should be a 2024. Because, they're just giving so many extra bonuses that the other classes don't have. Like, they're just getting so many more proficiencies and things like that. And, Kevin, I do like that... it is that they're trying to make some RP-focused rule changes that encourage people to actually try and role play with their character specifically. But again, depends on the group. It might not be needed. Like how the baby sea turtles know how to flop to the ocean. Like how baby sea turtles know how to flop to the ocean. Exactly.
Perfect.
So we also have a brand new feature at level 7 called Instinctive Pounce. And what this allows the barbarian to do is leap forward or backward or whatever direction the barbarian wants when activating their rage. When we get up to level 9,
I like that.
we get to one of those new features that gives the Barbarian
Anything that gives movement, it makes movement more viable, I'm 100% in. I'm all for it.
a new way to use one of their core features. And this is a theme we've already touched on in talking about the fighter and the rogue, of us looking for ways to give different classes new ways to use their core shtick. And so Brutal Strike is a new feature that replaces the old Brutal Critical. Brutal Critical in the past did not score particularly well in satisfaction surveys, and also, unfortunately, sometimes never came up for unlucky Barbarian players who almost never crit. And so for us, it was really begging for replacement, and that's why we've replaced it with Brutal Strike. And what Brutal Strike allows the Barbarian to do is, if they are using their Reckless Attack feature, which they still have from their 2014 version, if they're fighting recklessly, you can forego the advantage on your own attack roll, so you're still accepting everyone else has advantage to hit you.
Okay.
To deal even more damage if you manage to hit, and in addition, add on an additional effect. And so we have several effects you can add on that allow you to push someone back and follow them. Also, you can slow someone down. And then at higher level, we give you other ways that you can use Brutal Strike, and the extra damage at higher level goes up.
The idea of actually being able to move someone and then moving with them, so it's like you're actually like shoving them along, is such a good thing to add. Because like we have the hit and then people go flying, but like the idea like a giant barbarian, you know, hitting you and then putting his axe and like rushing you forward up into the wall is like something that is completely, that makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't happen. And I do like the idea of trading off advantage for a heavier hit. I know like in Baldur's Gate 3, didn't they do, so you, if you missed, then you got to decide whether you do a reckless attack. If you wanted to like add that on top, I feel like that would also be one of those things that I'm cool with that shift, just because it feels better to play instead of like do reckless attack, not know the information. So you get to do it like you do your first one, use your reckless attack to either get advantage or use your reckless attack to bump damage. I think that's completely viable.
Now, probably the wheels that are turning in your head is, this isn't only a cool way to really maximize reckless attacking, it's also a way to combo with your weapon masteries.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So the
That's
Barbarian can not only start using these cool new effects when they're using their reckless attack, they can also create some truly devastating combinations by combining several of these effects with whatever masteries they currently have unlocked.
Again, if you want to be very successful at pushing people back, you're using a great club, use weapon mastery on that to push people back, and then on top of that, as a barbarian, you're pushing them back, all with that one attack.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yes. and
Send someone flying across the room.
Yeah.
It's great.
So we also, in the core class, have improved Relentless Rage. This was a feature that Barbarians had before that helped them stay in the fight when dropped to 0 hit points. But in its previous design, it was far too easy for the Barbarian to bounce back, but have so few hit points that a monster could then just drop them again. And so all of the features in the player's handbook that are like this, because there are several different classes, subclasses, and even species in the case of the orc that have a feature like this of sort of dodging death. We have looked at all of them and made it so that they are a bit more effective than they were before, so that we can lessen the likelihood that you will, again, dodge death only, basically dodge one, and as you're moving, get hit by another because you came back with so few hit points. Now, of course, there's still the risk that you will come back, and particularly if the monsters really have it out for your character, that they will drop you again. But we've, again, made it so that it is not so easy for that to happen.
So let's move on to...
Will you make a video about 2024, like a guide? I don't know, man. I'm feeling pretty mixed. I feel like there's going to be other people who are going to do this far better than I would, far more justice. And I'm still on the fence whether I even think it's worth getting for me specifically. I don't know if our group is going to swap over to this. And yeah, I don't know. Well, I'll let in the air.
To the barbarian subclasses.
Yeah, so we have a brand new subclass in the form of the Path of the World Tree, and then we have the Path of the Berserker returning, as well as the Path of the Wild Heart, formerly known as the Path of the Totem Warrior, and then we also have the Path of the Zealot, a subclass that originally appeared in Xanathar's Guide to Everything and has been transformed in its migration from that book to this book. Should we start with the Berserker?
Yeah. It's
We
tried
shall.
and true and the most barbarian.
Yeah.
That was the most look between them two of like, we both know we're going to do this. I've got this line prepared. I'm going to say it, and then you give me a good laugh. Haha. I wish this wasn't scripted this way.
So the Berserker is the classic barbarian subclass. Now, despite that fact, it was also a pretty low satisfaction subclass in the past, largely because its main ability, Frenzy, forced the barbarian to gain levels of exhaustion, which made people often hesitant to use their subclass's main ability. So when we returned to the Berserker for this book, our main goal was redesigning Frenzy, that we need to make it so that this feature feels fun to use and will make people excited to have this subclass. And thankfully, through the Unearthed Arcana process, we got to a place where people who were participating in that process gave the thumbs up.
Did any of you guys do like the Unearthed Arcana stuff? Like, did you do any of the playtesting? I looked at the first one and then again, lazy, very lazy. I saw there was a lot of words in there. There's a lot of words, and then I would have to write words, and I was like, that's a lot. Did any of you guys do that? Because I'm curious to see how much they actually pulled from players' ideas in that kind of circumstance.
Up and said, yes, the new Frenzy is exactly what we want to see.
Yeah, this subclass is terrifying.
Yes, it's supposed to be. And really at its heart, Frenzy, just like the new Brutal Strike in the base class, is now building on core features, and in this case, again, Reckless Attack.
Right.
That if you are a Berserker and you are using Reckless Attack, this now allows you, the Frenzy feature, to deal more damage once per turn, and it does not cause you to get exhausted while doing it.
Yeah.
The trade-off,
True,
with
Kevin.
Brutal Strike, is, again, whenever you're using Reckless Attack, it means other people have advantage to hit you. But that is kind of a bread and butter for the whole Barbarian experience.
The Barbarian experience is literally risk and reward.
Exactly.
So,
and we've designed the whole class that way. It's about, how much are you willing to take for some spectacular feats of martial prowess and whatever else you're doing with your rage and your class abilities. But that wasn't the only thing we improved. We also, in the Mindless Rage feature, we made it so that the charmed and frightened conditions aren't just suppressed by that feature, they're now ended by it. So the Berserker can now just say nope to being charmed or frightened, because again, their rage is just that powerful. And then we also took the Berserker's retaliation ability that used to be at 14th level and moved it down to 10th level. Because we wanted you to have that fun of doing retaliatory strikes sooner in your barbarian career. And then we took Intimidating Presence, which used to be at 10th level, we moved it up to 14th, And we didn't just move it up, we also made it way more powerful. Previously, Intimidating Presence had you target just one creature and try to freak them out. Now, in contrast, it's as many creatures as you want within 30 feet of you, and it's just a bonus action to do it.
Perfect.
As
Great.
you try to strike terror into a bunch of creatures around.
I feel like whenever I try to play Barbarian in the past, the campaign would abruptly end. You're cursed. You're Barbarian cursed. That's what that means. And playing a Barb is about trying your hardest to die gloriously while the asshole cleric keeps healing you. Yeah. It's you go in no fear at all, right? Like that's the goal. Just have a good time, man. That's what Barbarian's all about. Don't think. It's like math is for blockers. The expression for Magic. You just send in the damage, and whatever happens, happens.
Around you, and because it's just a bonus action, it means you can also still do your attacks or whatever else you're doing with your action on your turn. All of these revisions combined make the Berserker an extremely formidable subclass, and I think now really earns its place as the iconic subclass for the Barbarian.
That brings us to the Path of the Wild Heart.
Path of the Wild Heart is a beloved subclass, again, formerly called the Path of the Totem Warrior. It continues
I played
to
that
have
one.
its associations with different animal spirits, but we've taken those beloved pieces and given the Barbarian
Very
player
good
who has
change.
the
I'm a big fan of
subclass
that.
even more flexibility than before. In 2014, when you got the 3 different features in this subclass where you chose an animal and the benefit associated with it, it was pretty much it. But we've now made it so that for 2 of these features, you get to choose the animal every time you activate your rage. And then the
that's
other
sick.
feature
Okay,
that
that's-
gives you a more sort of always on.
That's such a good change. To be able to actually use all 3 so you can use them situationally, again, it lets you be more of a tactician. I'm such a big fan of that, right? Because you'd have to pick one, you're stuck in it, and then you're just like, all right, this is the type of play style I always try to do. But sometimes, the terrain or something changes it. I like this. I like that you can actually play the different animals. And it feels like more thematic, so you get to, be using all of the resources instead of just being connected to one thing. Like just being connected to the wolf or the bear.
Kind of ability that's not connected to your rage, you get to choose the animal associated with that feature every time you finish a long rest. We wanted to do this not only to give the player more choice points as they're playing a Wild Heart, but we also wanted you to be able to lean deeper into
Choice
this
points.
fantasy
It's a good way to put it.
of connecting with these different primal spirits. Because we felt before you were kind
Right.
of, well, I made this choice, but I never do again.
Yeah.
And we really want you to have this feeling of today I'm communicating with the bear.
Yeah.
But tomorrow I might be communicating with the eagle or with the lion or with the ram. We also
Ooh, the ram would be fun.
changed the animal
I wonder what the
names because
tactic
we
is for the
wanted to
ram.
make it clear that these choices are not connected to each other. In the 2014 Player's Handbook, we told you that if you chose, for instance, bear for one of the features, you were not required to choose bear for the other ones. But we found that even though we said that, people seeing the same animal name showing up often felt they had to pick the same one all the way through.
Okay.
So that's one of the reasons why we made it so that every single one of the animal options is now different. None of them repeat.
Perfect.
So that it's super duper clear. You're in no way having to pick the same animal all the way down because now it's impossible to. Now in the process, in addition to giving more flexibility, we also modified several of the options. And the options at level 6 got particularly improved. We wanted to make them more useful to you in a typical adventure. So now, for instance, if you pick salmon at level 6, you get a swim speed. If you pick panther, you get a climb speed.
Cool.
And if you pick the owl, you're going to have really good dark vision. And we wanted you to get some features at this level that would
Though
help
again, fuck
you a
dark
bit
vision.
more, particularly in the exploration tier of the game.
And early on.
Yeah.
I am very excited for this new subclass. It is the Path of the World Tree.
Okay.
Very much
Yeah, let's see what
rooted
they have for
in
this.
Idrisil and legends like that.
And the Path of the World Tree, like the Path of the Zealot, are both about the barbarian turning their gaze outward to the broader cosmos. The Berserker and the Wildheart both really lean into sort of the classic barbarian fantasy of primal power either within oneself or within nature, whereas the Path of the World Tree is about connecting to the world tree that in D&D, just like in Norse mythology, connects to all of the worlds of the D&D multiverse. Or you can choose Path of the Zealot to connect to gods. And that's why I say those two subclasses are about, again, turning your gaze outward instead of inward.
Cleric Barbarian.
To nature.
Yeah.
And the Path of the World Tree.
We just did
because
Druid Barbarian, and now we're about to do Cleric Barbarian.
This isn't just a regular tree. This is not, a tree that's going to put just bark on you or something like that. This is the tree that connects one world to the other. That's why this path is especially magical among these paths. At the highest level of the subclass, it's going to allow the barbarian to teleport as the barbarian taps into that extra dimensional power.
Being able to teleport, I'm all about.
Tree, but it also gives the barbarian ways to support their party by tapping into the vitality of this great tree to give themselves temporary hit points or give others temporary hit points.
It's a tank that makes everyone tank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that also gets at that this subclass can really fill a different role in a group.
Yeah, this is a new
than, say,
subclass.
the Berserker. The Berserker is really good at dishing out the hurt. And really any barbarian is,
Yeah.
but the Berserker especially leans into that. The Wildheart can do that as well, but with the Wildheart you have a sort of menu of options to customize yourself. Path of the World Tree is really about leaning into Barbarian as tank, because not only can you give yourself and
Does
others
tanking even really
resilience,
work in D&D?
move yourself and your friends at high level through teleportation, but you also have the really fun ability to use the roots of the world tree to point to your foe and say, nope, you're not running away, come back. and that has been an especially fun thing to see in playtests, is this is the barbarian who is kind of the worst enemy of the foe who wants to always run away.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
The barbarian is just like, nope, come right back here.
Come over here ability, yeah.
Yes. And so really
I like that ability, but
to help their party. And on top of it,
do you guys think that, like, I don't even think tanking works in this game. Like, yeah, you can put someone up front, but like any enemy, it's there, but it's not like video game tanking. Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like any enemy knows attack the guy who's squishy in the back and not the guy wearing, all the armor, or the guy who's not getting damaged. I don't know. It doesn't work the same way. I think armor artificer is one of the only subclasses that can actually tank and draw aggro. Yeah, because they need drawing aggro elements, and that's weird to do in like D&D, I think. Like, it's hard to convince someone to attack you unless you start making like a part of the game.
they also gain an ability to extend their reach with their melee weapons by having like the roots sort of extending from their weapons to make it even easier to hit someone far away. And the World Tree gives them the ability even to fiddle around with the mastery properties that they're using with their weapon strikes.
Very hard barbarian to escape. The hardest barbarian ever to escape.
Yes.
I can reach further. I can teleport to you. I can teleport you to me. Yeah.
Again, at high level, I can teleport my whole party to you.
I mean, that sounds fun. I do like the idea of it.
It's like, hello.
To all the psychic damage.
The enemy thought they got away from the whole group, and And no, the Path of the World Tree Barbarian is like.
Totem Barb gets resistant to all but psychic damage and have an ability that imposes disadvantage when enemies attack other PCs. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean that is solid. You know, like, okay. Yeah, I think I'm proven wrong then, because that is definitely, we just haven't had that come into our game. Disadvantage when they attack other people is good. It's one of those things where you have to hit them first, and then they're just locked in with fighting with you, right? Or is it just like an aura thing? It doesn't draw aggro, but it does encourage attacking the barb. Right. Right.
Like, hi, here we all are.
So coming from Xanathar's guide, we've kind of imported the Path of the Zealot. This is the very divine focused.
Yes. So Path of the Zealot is all about being a barbarian whose rage is rooted in the might of the gods.
Oh, my bad.
And
this is the barbarian cleric.
God to serve a whole pantheon, or just divine power itself. And this barbarian, just as they could in Xanathar's guide, you know, they have their divine fury where they can deal extra damage, but we have done some redesign and enhancement.
Yeah, move mechanics do feel different on the barbarian. Again, I like the idea of having a more versatile movement in D&D. I feel like that's a huge increase, like something that will make the game feel way better. There are spells for that they make the tank useless on purpose in 5e. I think, yeah, it's spells kind of get around disadvantage in a way because it's not attacks. So it's kind of like only people in the thick of things. Again, it is something that is both works and is like not exactly quite right.
Enhancement in this subclass in the process of bringing it over from Xanathar's guide. One of the big changes was to the Warrior of the Gods feature, which before basically just made it easier for you to be raised from the dead. And I mean,
Zombie Barbarian would be pretty cool.
I'm not a huge fan of when we make features that rely on you dying.
Yeah.
And so I had us change this feature.
Yeah.
And you now
I don't know.
get a pool of dice
Seems good.
that
Seems
you can
fun.
use to heal yourself. It's almost like having your own version of Lay on Hands as a barbarian, but unlike the Paladin who can use that ability to heal others, this feature is a bit more selfish and is all about keeping this barbarian in the fight as they channel divine power and just keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
We also took a look at the fanatical focus feature that the Zealot had before. It gave the barbarian a reroll, and as we've done with several other reroll abilities in the new player's handbook, we now also give you a bonus to the reroll. We wanted to increase the likelihood that if you use this feature, that it will have a better chance of turning a
Kadir, take it easy, man. Thanks for swinging by. Appreciate you coming out, man. Appreciate it.
failure into a success. Now, the area where we did the most redesign is in the capstone ability. At level 14, you now get Rage of the Gods, and it no longer requires you to drop to 0 hit points to gain its benefit, because this was, unfortunately, the Zealot previously had 2 features that relied on you dropping.
Great.
Or in this case, avoiding dropping to be activated. Now, instead, you can simply activate the Rage of the Gods when you activate your Rage, and it gives you various divine powers while it's active. You can fly for a certain amount of time, really tasty damage resistance, and you also now have the ability to thwart other people's deaths. So if other people are dying around you, you can use your reaction and you can try to save them.
That's cool.
And so you now also can provide some of your survivability to others around you. And so again, there's a little bit of Paladin here, but with a distinctively barbarian flavor, because it's still, at its heart, the Zealot is about dishing out a whole ton of hurt.
And that's it for the Barbarian.
That's it. I mean, it's a lot.
It's a lot
of new fun.
Yeah.
A lot of new fun
for
things.
Our Rage friends And I can't wait to play a Barbarian again using these new options.
The new player's handbook is available for pre-order.
I wish they
right
made-
now on D&D Beyond. You can find
Okay, I wish they made new subclasses for each one of these. Like, if they had one new subclass, at least then there's something that people can cling on to that's like a new fun idea. But the fact that they're just taking stuff from like Tasha's or Xanathar's and then putting it in here and then just kind of tweaking them a little bit is like, just throw in another subclass for fun. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate you swinging by, man. Hopefully see you on the next one. Appreciate it, man. Okay, so yeah, I just wish they did more to change because unfortunately these videos are slow. What's up? How's it going? Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, these videos are slow. The presentation is terrible. You've heard me complain about it from the beginning. It's been terrible. You know? But there's just not enough to get me excited, and they need some kind of new stuff. Like it's just tweaks and nothing is like substantially different other than the weapons is one change and that's good, but they could still do that and they could have just made that a supplement book. All the work they did with Rangers. So they made it, and then they made some classes worse, which is great. You gotta love that. Like, I'm surprised they didn't just make Rangers like broken as fuck, because that's after all the memes. You know what I mean? After Tasha's, I know that Ranger gets better. So, but still, I feel like you get so many memes, you might as well just like overcorrect, because why not? But there's just not enough changes for my group to care to want to swap over. I'm already homebrewing the game so much that I don't know if I am excited enough. And I don't want to yuck someone's yum, because I am 100% positive that this is going to be more fun to play, like, for each character, most likely. Like, they've made things that are definitely quality of life. We've had 10 years of playing the same game. There should be things that are, like, basic improvements, and they should know how to do that. So I'm sure it is going to be fun. I'm not sure it's enough for me to think about it or, like, even do it again. Implement the changes into my game, because they're also not things that my group specifically needs more of. You know, we're not so combat focused that these changes change things drastically. Of course, I think I'll give it as an option for my group to swap if they want to swap, like especially just their character. But then again, it is kind of going to be a whole group's transition, because if one person swaps, then everybody kind of should too, because their character will just be better than everybody else, and that's not what we're going for. Yeah, I'm disappointed. I think that's what I'm going to get out of this, is that I just wish it was more. I'm underwhelmed, and now I'm just like, okay. There's just nothing's really doing it for me. Like, a whole new Barbarian subclass would have been interesting to try and like bring a new concept that they haven't added, so then I have something to cling on to. That would do it for me. Regardless, how do you guys feel? Do you guys think that the Paladin and the Barbarian are better? Do you think this is an improvement on where things have been, or is it enough of an improvement for it to matter or get you excited to want to play this specific build? For me, it's not. I mean, I've obviously put in my 2 cents quite a bit. Like, I'm sure the Paladin Smite not being able to just like do it every turn is going to be like a benefit to the game, but who cares? It's also going to be fun. Missed all the content, so I will widely guess that this is a massive improvement. I mean, maybe. I think it's it's not great. So I don't know. I think we're gonna do. I was planning on streaming Wednesday. We'll see if we're doing the next 3 classes. Because what are the next 3 ones? It's good. Yeah, it's small improvements, not groundbreaking. So we have Rogue, Warlock, and Druid. I think that was my plan to do that on Wednesday. But these are just I'm just getting so bored as we get through them. There's so much dead air on the videos. Like, there's so much space that they could have just condensed down. I do want to see all the things that are changing. We'll see. 5e shape up. Yeah, this is Sketcher shape up for 5e. Warlocks get a massive overhaul. Okay, Warlocks might be good to see. Yeah, you know what? I think we'll see. I will put out a message. I'm going to be streaming Wednesday regardless. So if you guys want to come hang out, it'd be much appreciated. So far disappointed. And the fighter got a pretty big change. Warlock was actually pretty different. Warlock's my favorite class, or I just like the theme of Warlock the most. So I'm definitely interested in seeing that one. So Rogue, Warlock, Druid. Okay, yeah, okay. Wednesday I think we'll come back. We'll try to do 3 more and see how we feel. I might be skipping around a lot more on that one compared to the ones where I'm just letting them play out because, again, slow, very slow. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you watching the stream. See you on Wednesday if you want to come around. It actually set me up for disappointment because everything else got so little in comparison. Oh, that is heartbreaking. To start at the biggest change and then go down from there. Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming out, and we'll have fun on Wednesday. So take it easy, and I'll see you soon.